320. Teacher being route to Gulfway, one adult male, starting mileage 01.3. So for 1432.
4912. Last one, please. 168405.
In a classroom disruption, a student involved with 3 other students. Okay, so he's going to be in hospital, hopefully, when I vote mail, starting my list, 0-1-3.
340149.
That confirms this information. The other 3 individuals are going to be checked out by the nurse. I'll follow up with their
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to our council chambers, to City Hall. This morning, our invocation will be given by Pastor Robert Saenz with Primera Asamblea de Dios.
Thank you.
Power Blue, that's a fantastic information. The other amazing information is that you can drop light years of all students.
Verse 1, and he reads, I urge, then first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all in authority, that we may live peacefully in quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. We bow our heads as we pray. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus, your Son, to ask your guidance in this city council meeting this morning, especially for our mayor, our city manager, and all city council members. Grant us wisdom, courage to do what you've called us to do, which is to serve our city and its people. We pray for endurance, diligence, and commitment until every task is
First of
fulfilled.
all, the petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all in authority. We may live peacefully in quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. We bow our heads as we pray. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus, your Son, to ask your guidance in the city council meeting this morning. Thank you very much.
She is a senior at West Oso High School, an A honor roll student, and she will graduate with an associate's degree in liberal arts from Del Mar.
Number 3. 10-4.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Caitlin, and good luck in your studies.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Ms. Huerta, would you please call
At West
the roll?
Coastal High
Mayor
School,
Paulette
an
Wajardo,
A on
Present.
students who
Council
should
members
graduate
Roland
with an
Barrera,
Associate 3
Sylvia
in Liberal
Campos,
Arts from Del Mar.
Eric Cantu,
I pledge allegiance to the
Gail
law of the
Hernandez,
United States of
Kaylin
America and to
Paxson,
the republic for which it
Everett
stands,
Roy,
one nation under
Mark
God,
Scott.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Yes, there he is, Mr. Scott. All right. Carolyn Vaughn,
City
City Manager Peter Zanoni, City Attorney Miles Wesley, Mayor Council, a quorum of the council, and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Okay, we'll go to section, section E.
Why don't we go around and so that way we can be coming.
Mr. Zanoni.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council and the community. We have one item today on the city manager's report. And it's to highlight a $75,000 donation for our Meals on Wheels program. And so we know with the recent federal government shutdown, we're back open now, and with the holidays upon us, the topic of food security, especially for those that are less fortunate, is important. And today,
And then, yes, that is
we're gonna have a
Mr. Scott.
presentation
Carolyn
from
Volley.
HEB,
Carolyn,
a
can you see a
strong
manager
partner of
because
ours
of
in this
any problem
community,
with city attorney
who is
mostly?
giving
Well,
us
we're an absolute form of the
$75,000
council and the
towards
rest of
our
our
Meals on
officers are
Wheels
present to
program.
conduct the meeting. Thank
the
you,
Meals on
MS.
Wheels
Thank you. I will go to section, section E. Why do we have to go around? And how are we with city organization? Oh, great. Thank you. I remember the council and the community. We have one item today. That's what we're seeing next report.
Is about $578,000 annually for the services that we provide to seniors. meals 5 days a week, both in our congregate setting and on the Meals on Wheels program. So the Meals on Wheels program is about a $200,000 budget, and then $379,000 is in the congregate setting. But every little bit helps, and we're proud and happy today to announce the $75,000 grant for the Meals on Wheels program. The Meals on Wheels program serves individuals who are 60 years of age and older, and not only does it provide meal service, but we also do welfare check-ins on the seniors, making sure that they're okay each day at their home. This donation from HEB will directly impact our community with approximately 9,600 additional meals through the
$778,000 annually for these services that we provide to seniors. Meals 5 days a week, both in our congregate setting and on the Meals on Wheels program. So the Meals on Wheels program is about $200,000 budget, and then $300,000. But every little bit helps, and we're proud and happy today to announce the $75,000 grant for the Meals on Wheels program.
Consistent partner in our community and many things that we do year-round. So at the time I was here, she spoke recently about the free admission program that HEB is also funding at our museums here for the next 2 months, all through the holiday season. And so she's going to come and say a few words, and then I'm going to, after that, Beth, I'll announce, and with us in the audience are our staff members who prepare all these meals each day. So I want to recognize them, and then Beth is going to hand the check to them.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council members. So excited to be in front of you again, and I really appreciate your thoughtful comments, Peter, for the great things that we get to represent today.
And many things that we did in the past year. So we'll go up and tell her here, we're going to be able to free initiate program that HEB is also funding at our museums here for the next 2 months, all through the holidays. And so she's going to come and say a few words, and then I'm going to, after that, Beth, I'll announce. And with this in the audience are our staff members who prepare all these meals each day, and I want to recognize that.
So our Coastal Bend Food Bank also received a sizable donation from, but we wanted to make sure that we include some of our most vulnerable citizens of our communities, probably some that hold very dear and true to your hearts every day, and those are our seniors. And so we're really excited today to present $75,000 to you, Peter, and your Parks and Recreation team. We're honored to work with them on multiple fronts. And if I can just tout too, we have Feast of Sharing coming up on December the 20th. So we would love to have all of you there, of course, Peter, you and your team, but really just to come and celebrate with us and have a hot holiday meal. It'll be from 11 to 3 at the Hilliard Center just down the street. So please join us for that. We hope to see many of our Corpus Christi community members there. And thank you for just letting us come today. And we would love
but we wanted to make sure that we include some of our most vulnerable citizens of our communities, probably some that hold very dear and true to your hearts every day, and those are our seniors. And so we are really excited today to present $75,000 to Peter and your Harvest and Recreation team. We're honored to work with them on multiple fronts. And if I can just tout too, we have Feast of Sharing coming up on December.
It's not nearly as good as having homemade food, and so we still do that. Our city still each day cooks homemade meals. So there's a lot of high quality nutrition that's served each day. So we're going to recognize these employees. They're going to come up with Beth, and we'll get a picture as well. So I'm going to name them one by one. There's about a dozen here, and we'll have you come up to the microphone, please, at the podium. So Shelby Houston, Brandis Eaton, Kimberly Ramirez, Sandy Chapa. These are all employees of the city who cook meals for our seniors every day. Caleb Strange, Andrew Morris, Oscar Sanchez, Lena Herrera, Laura Charo, Aaron Applewhite, and Belinda Stinson. So these are our cooks, folks, that help those seniors every day, both in the congregate setting and on the Meals on Wheels program. I've seen their meals, and pretty good. So, right.
we can. Big group, big group. Council members, perfect. Perfect. All right, everyone, look right here. Big smiles on 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time, big smiles on 3. Look right up here. 1, 2, 3. We're good. We're good.
Good job, Beth, yeah. Good job, yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, okay. So Mayor Good, thank you for letting us.
Profanity, shouting over others, and showing blatant disregard for the rules that govern our proceedings. I've allowed space for differing viewpoints, and I will continue to welcome respectful disagreement, but I will not allow this council or the public we serve to be disrespected. We are here to do the people's work, so we will proceed in that spirit.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
If you would like to speak on a specific agenda item
So
during its
as we
discussion,
begin today's meeting, I want to take a moment to address that this council chambers is a place of public business, a forum for civic discussion, decision-making, and service to the people of Corpus Christi. It's not a stage for personal attacks for disruptions or vulgarity, and we will not tolerate violations of decorum. There have been repeated instances of individuals using profanity, shouting out.
Above. Mr. Risley.
All citizens must be courteous, polite, and respectful of one another, including the city council and city staff. The mayor and council members shall be referred to by title and/or title surname. All remarks must be addressed to the mayor and city council and not to the council members as individuals. Citizens are only permitted to speak on city-related subject matter. Speaking on any non-city related matter is prohibited. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed. Citizens must refrain from any disturbing noise, demonstration, or other act disrupting to the city council business.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. So please state your name and the city in which you live before beginning your comments. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes, while
all citizens
non-resident
must be
comments are
courteous,
limited to
polite,
1 minute.
and respectful
A
of
visible
one
timer
another,
positioned
including the
near
city council and
secretary's
city
desk will
staff.
help
The
manage
mayor
that
and
allotted
council
time.
members
And
shall
if
be
you have a
referred to by
petition or
title
any relevant
and/or title
information,
surname.
please
All
present
remarks
it
must
to
be
the
addressed
city
to the mayor
secretary
and
and
city
before you
council
speak,
and not to
she
the
will
council members
distribute it
as
to
individuals.
us.
Citizens are only permitted to
So we will
speak
move
on
on with
city-related
our
subject
council
matter.
agenda,
Speaking
and
on
that
any
puts us at
non-city-related
section
matter
L,
is
our
prohibited. A
consent
loud,
agenda,
boisterous,
items
profane,
2
or
through
obscene
17.
language or behavior.
Would any council member like to pull any items 2 through 17? Number 4? Number 11. Okay, number 4, number 11. Any other items pulled? Would the public like any requests from the public to make public comment on any items 2 through 17?
12-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts.
10, 11,
Saturdays, Sundays.
14, and 15.
Penny from New York.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with the exceptions of items 4, 10, 11, 14, and 15.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
To pull any of these
opposed, say no.
items 2 through
Can we see
17.
Mr.
Number
Scott,
4.
please?
Number 11. Okay. Number 4.
sorry? Mr.
Number
Scott.
11. Any other items
Councilman
with the
yes.
public.
Yes,
Like any
Councilmember Scott,
request
which
from
is
the
if he
public
wants
to
to
make
vote, we
a
have to
call
see
of the
him
day.
here.
Any items
Yes.
2 or 17.
Okay, thank
Number
you so
11.
much.
Number 11. Saturdays, Sundays.
Okay. Item number 4 was pulled for public comment. I'm sorry, what council member, was that yours? Okay, Councilman Vaughn.
5,900.
I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we just have to say motion carried.
Any opposed? say
Yeah, there was a motion and second.
Councilman
We
Scott,
just have
okay.
not finally voted, yes.
Okay, item number 4 is an ordinance to amend the city code of ordinances to make changes to the city boards and commissions. Councilwoman Vaughn.
I don't have a problem with any of this. It's just that you're discontinuing some of these boards, and then you're changing the name on another. But the sister city, the chamber is going to take that. So you're going to be using taxpayer money. So I just want you to explain.
I don't remember
that so the
was
public
pulled
knows
for
what
public
is
comment.
required
I'm
of
sorry.
them.
What
Yes, ma'am.
council member was
So,
it yours? Okay, Councilman
there's
Vaughn, all in
$20,000
favor, say aye, yeah.
that's
We
being
just have to say
provided
motion,
to,
carry
the
any
Sister City
opposed. Yeah,
Committee.
there's a
That's what
motion and
historically has
second
been given
councilman.
to
It's
them,
okay. I
in
really
addition
voted.
to
Yes, okay.
$8,000
Item
that
number
were
4 is an
remaining
ordinance
from
to amend the
last
city
year.
code of
Yeah,
ordinances
and
to
what
make
we've set
changes
up
to.
in the agreement that the council passed on September the 9th of 2025, they're going to submit semi-annual reports to the city, and they're going to detail their activity and financial reports. That'll be submitted to the city manager or his designee. He has designated Ryan Skrabarczyk to work with the committee. And they'll submit those reports twice a year. Each financial report will be prepared and signed by a certified public accountant. So we're sure where those funds are being sent. By May 1st of each year, they have to adopt an annual work plan and an annual budget. And in that budget, they'll include all sources of revenue. So revenues, expenditures, any fundraising that they have, all that will be included in that budget. And the chamber will provide a copy of the proposed annual budget to the city manager or designate at least 2 weeks prior to its adoption so that we can review and comment. So staff will be able to review and comment prior to their adoption. The term of the agreement is for 1 year, and it does include something called a non-appropriation clause. And what that means is the continuation of the agreement after the close of the fiscal year of the city, and our fiscal year closes September 30th, it's subject to appropriations and budget approval. And that means the council has the sole discretion to determine whether or not to fund the contract. So say the year passes and you've made some decisions, you decide not to fund that, that's within your purview to do that as well. So those are some of the safeguards we've included, ma'am.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. Item number 10 was pulled for public comment. Item, if you'd want to come up.
You know, 20 bro, when I went to go do
The
my interview,
continuation of the agreement after the close of the fiscal year of the city, and our fiscal year closes September 30th. It's subject to appropriations and budget approval, and that means the council has the sole discretion to determine whether or not to fund the contract. So say the year passes and you know you've made some decisions, you decide not to fund that. That's within your purview to do that as well. So those are some of the safeguards we've included.
Rachel Caballero, D1. I'm glad to see that we're using somebody other than Freeze and Nichols. Hopefully we'll look into our Dura group and see what else they're going to be participating in. I'd like for you guys to consider stepping away from the design, bid, and construction phase process. That gives a lot of room for nefarious activities to be allowed with city staff. If we don't know how much it's going to cost, we shouldn't be doing it. This community, we've been told, does not have the money to provide customer or community services. They're getting slashed across, the budget. Community services.
Participating
so
in
we have to make sure that
this,
we're doing
I'd like for you guys to consider stepping away from the design, bid, and construction phase process that gives a lot of room for nefarious activities to be allowed. If we don't know how much it's going to cost, we shouldn't.
With our treatment plants. So I just would like to ask for you guys, and I'd like more information on it itself. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
If I may. 2130, suspicious caller, 9802 Redwood, 3 Redwood, contract.
Yeah, do we have?
So I just would like to ask for your guidance and like more information on it itself. So thank you. I want to entertain a motion. Second.
Well, so I can tell you what the project's intended to do. It's an improved CIP project, and there's 2 plants at Owen Stevens, and this is in plant 2, and it has a design for the weirs that take the water out of the sedimentation basin and transfer it to the filters. The one on plant 2 is not working as well as plant 1. You're getting solids break through and short circuiting, and they want to explore some different alternatives to upgrade that and get something that's going to perform better. And what happens if it's not performing well and you get more solids, you've got to backwash your filters more and actually waste water.
And when was the last time that it was upgraded?
I can tell you what the projects intend to do. It's an improved
CCW
CIP project, and there's 2 plants at Owen Stevens, and this is in plant 2, and it has a design for the weirs that take the water out of the sedimentation basin and transfer it to the fillers.
Nick
The one on plant 2 is not working as well. There's plant 1. You're getting solids breakthrough and short circuiting.
Original plant 2, right? So that was in the 80s. So what we found is that is not as effective. So we want to improve the weirs, and also part of the project is also looking at the weir process for plant 1.
Okay, and what has caused that? I mean, like, it's been working all these years. It's just what? Just finally wear and tear? That's a long time.
So it's working, but it's not working as efficiently. So what we're seeing, and Jeff alluded to it, so we have problems with our water distribution. There's crossover. When you're looking at water treatment, the movement of the water is critical. If you ever come out to the plant, you can actually see the water.
So I was in the 80s. So what we found is that is not as effective. So we want to improve the weirs, and also part of the project is also looking at the weir process for plant 1. Okay? And what has caused that? I mean, like it's been working all these years. It's just finally wear and tear. That's a long time. So it's working, but it's not working as efficiently.
And then construction phase services, where they would have involvement in the construction contract. Construction isn't anticipated to start till fiscal year 28. So and there will be a firm bid with this project, just hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so right now we're still in the design phase.
We haven't started design yet. So this is the professional services contract for design.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, that's all the comments I had.
Okay.
Did you make?
Okay, we have a motion in a second.
Okay.
Rebecca, do you want to put that up?
Construction phase services, where they would have involvement in the construction contract. Construction isn't anticipated to start till fiscal year 28.
Okay, the motion carries.
And there will be a firm bid with this project, just hasn't happened yet. Okay, so right now we're still in a design phase. We haven't started design yet. So this is the professional services contract for design. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, that's all the comments I had. Okay.
Are providing is mainly for human consumption? Is it the agreement that do we have that information? Is it, that's what my understanding was, the reissuance of this contract, the 1.2 to 1.8 millions that we're providing to South Texas Water Authority. I'm just curious, is it, because I want to make sure right now, since our water is so limited, I want to make sure that it is for humans.
Sure. So the contract is a 3-year extension. None of the terms of the contract, including annual volume, has changed.
Is mainly for human consumption. Is it the agreement that where do we have that information? Is it? That's what my understanding was. The reassurance of this contract, the 1.2 to 1.8 million that we're providing to South Texas Water Authority. I'm just curious.
Corpus Christi
because
doesn't control
I want to make sure right now.
Customers are, but I can tell you that they haven't requested an additional volume of water to include in their contract.
Okay.
And none of the terms have changed. All the terms are the same.
And that's what I am, hopefully in the future, we will be able to have those kinds of discussions that whenever we, as a water provider, will be able to have a say as to who we're providing 1 million, 2 million, 12 million, 20 million, it goes on and on. At what point does the community know? Do we have a commission or something that we could have a say as to who we're selling our water to? That we would have an impact, that we could have a say? Do we have anything like that?
But I can tell you that they haven't requested an additional volume of water to include in their contract. And none of the terms have changed. All the terms are the same. And that's what I'm hopefully in the future would be able to have those kinds of discussions that whenever as a water provider, would be able to have a say as to who we're providing 1 million, 2 million, 12 million, 20 million, it goes on and on. All right.
And then that information would be shared with council, and in fact, the contract would be voted on and approved by council as well.
So because this is an existing and they're not really increasing it, that information then does not have to be provided to council. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a consideration item because they're not requesting any material changes to the contract. We agree, the city agrees that the terms are acceptable and reasonable, and we agree to be operating along those same terms for the next 3 years as partners.
Well, there's been discussion about creating a sort of like a water commission. Has that come to your desk?
That information would be shared with council, and in fact, the contract would be voted on and approved by council. Okay, so because this isn't existing and they're not really increasing that information then does not have to be provided to council. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, it's not a consideration item because they're not requesting any material changes to the contract. We agree. The city agrees that the terms are.
And that it's, for example, a lot of these car washes that have inundated our city, I would like to see us have a say as to how many more car washes we're going to be allowing. I know that this is probably out of this, discussion, but I would like to see that in the future. Some kind of either water commission or a water board where it actually has residents as part of that commission. So hopefully you can come back and maybe discuss that with us at a later time, but I still would like to see that. So with that, I make a motion to approve the project.
4925, last 4939.
Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, we're extending
For example, a lot of these car washes that have inundated our city, I would like to see us have a say as to how many more car washes we're going to be allowing. I know that this is probably out of this discussion, but I would like to see that in the future. Some kind of either water commission or a water board where it actually has residents as part of that commission. So hopefully,
earlier in the year, the STWA, we've been working on this contract for some time. Earlier in the year, they requested and we agreed to extend the contract to December 31st of this year, which we did. And then just recently, they've come back and they said, look, we would just like to extend it for 3 years because as we all know, they are working on other water supply projects. So that seems reasonable to us as well.
Okay, so I know as part of that development, there's also some discussion about selling us water, and we're supposed to get a presentation from them. Is that coming next month?
I'll have to follow up with our contacts at South Texas Water Authority. The statements and the comments and CCW
We've been working on this contract for some time. Earlier in the year, they requested and we agreed to extend the contract to December 31st of this year, which we did. And then just recently, they've come back and they said, look, we would just like to extend it for 3 years because as we all know, they are working on other water supply projects. So that seemed reasonable to us as well. Okay, so I know as part of that development,
if Mr. Matas wants to come up and answer the question, we can't answer it for him. That was the plan, but it's changed, and we don't know when it's coming forward. So I would recommend he come up to the microphone. We don't want to guess on what his business is.
Good morning, John Matas, representing South Texas Water Authority. First of all, I want to thank Drew Molly and also Nick and their teams. And
answer the question. We can't answer it for him. That was the plan, but it's changed, and we don't know when it's coming forward. So I would recommend he come up to the microphone, and we don't want to guess on what his business is.
STWA, how that works, either independently or in coordination with CCW. So I just want to state that they have been excellent partners and always operated in good terms, never adversarial, and this was a mutual agreement that we had a few weeks ago that we were able to finalize, which came before you here in this agenda item number 11. Now, on the other issue, yes, we are still proceeding, working ahead with 7Cs on a water source for our system up to a 3 MGD plant, and that is still in the works. Now, there are options to upscale that, and we have mentioned that in the various times that I've been here before you and the council. And so we would be more than happy to present
how that
to
works,
you,
either independently
updates. We
or
didn't
in
want to come back
coordination
until
with
we had more
CCW.
information.
So I just
We
want to
feel we're
state
at
that they have
point.
been excellent
We'll be
partners
able to
and
present
always
to the
operated in
STWA
good
board
terms,
on their
never
December
adversarial.
1st
And this was a mutual
meeting,
agreement that we had
and
a few
then,
weeks
be
ago
able
that
to
we were
have all
able
that
to
background
finalize, which
information
came
to
before you
present
here
to
in this agenda item
management,
number 11.
for
Now
them
on
to
the other
decide or
issue,
for you
yes,
to
we are
initiate,
still
putting
proceeding,
that
working
into,
ahead with
your
7CS.
agenda the following week. So we're trying to move this ahead quickly so that everyone has some resolve to this question, dealing with STWA directly, and how does that work with the bigger picture. But we do appreciate being a part of the regional water system that CCW provides. They have always been there helpful, and Nick has always been there at a phone call away to answer anything that we have. So we are ready to move forward to present to you. If that is the council's wish or that's management's wish, we will be ready to provide you with details and background compared to other meetings. So
Okay, so our meeting after that is December 9th, and our last meeting in December, I believe, is the 16th. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct, Councilman.
Okay, so I'm assuming one of those 2 days we'll get
So we're trying to move this ahead quickly so that everyone has some resolve to this question. We're dealing with SWA directly, and how does that work with the bigger picture? But we do appreciate being a part of the regional water system that CCW provides. They've always been there helpful, and Nick has always been there a phone call away to answer anything that we have. So we are ready to move forward to present to you if that is a council's wish, or that's management's
wish. But if things are
wish.
looking good at the first meeting and there's little turnaround time, we can add it to the agenda later that week on the 3rd for the 9th.
Okay.
Okay, and then if not, we'll have the fallback for the 16th.
With that, I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mates.
thank you.
Please submit your vote.
Public comment, Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yes, public comment. I'm sorry, on item number 11. Any public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. You've got one?
With all the previous contracts and everything that's gone through.
Can you state your name and city, please?
Alex Benavides, District 3. I know that what he said is like, they're not asking for more of this and that, but the council raised a great question about trying to figure out where the water, what the resources that the water is taking from and going to.
In this little turnaround time, we can add it to the agenda later that week on the 3rd for the 9th. Okay, and then if not, we'll have the fallback for the 16th. Oh, with that, I'll second the motion. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Montes. Thank you. Please submit your vote. Public comment. Mayor, I'm sorry. Yes, public comment. I'm sorry on item number 11. Any public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. You've got one with all the previous comments.
Bring up every single thing that's on there. That way we know if it's excessive. I mean, it's 3 years. And how many times are we going to get in contracts for 3 years that we can't change once we find out they're dud contracts? Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, I'm closing public comment. Please submit your vote.
Mr. Scott? You're frozen. Darn it. Try again.
Yes. National criminal enterprise.
That way we know if it's excessive. I mean, it's 3 years. How many times are we going to get in contracts in 3 years that we can't change once we find dead contracts? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I'm closing public
Today, the
comment.
Justice
Please submit your
Department
vote.
is proud to announce new developments in our ongoing investigation into Ryan James Wedding. Wedding is the former Olympian from Canada who is now the leader of a transnational criminal enterprise. He's currently on the FBI's and has been top 10 most wanted list. He controls one of the most prolific and violent drug trafficking organizations in this world. He is currently the largest distributor of cocaine in Canada.
I would like to request
Wedding collaborates closely with the Sinaloa cartel, a foreign terrorist organization.
Thank you.
I should probably get a little bit more information on this because I haven't seen Rachel Caballero D1.
with
I'd like
cocaine
your
coming
more
from
information
Colombia.
on this because we haven't
His
seen
organization
anything
is
regarding
responsible
financial
for
obligations
importing
these alleged grants
approximately
and the Texas Water
60
Development Board has
metric
treated our
tons
community very,
of
very
cocaine
poorly.
a year into
Correct.
Los
So the state
Angeles
legislature,
via semi-trucks
with their
from
support, we're very
Mexico.
thankful for that.
To put that in perspective,
Grant money
60
for both the
metric
Mary Rose
tons
Pipeline
is
and the
approximately
System
40,
Water
the weight
Program.
of 40
The money
standard
being
cars.
distributed through the Texas Water
Imagine
Development
that.
Board.
That's how much
the mechanism
cocaine,
for distributing
the weight
grants.
of 40
As part of
cars
the rules and
he is bringing
regulations, it's a
into
formality
our
for
country
council
a year.
to approve CCW to
In
submit
the course of the
grant
investigation, more than 35 individuals have been indicted.
Thank you, sir.
Over 2,000 kilos and numerous weapons have been seized. Approximately $3.2 million in cryptocurrency has been recovered, and over $13 million in physical assets has been
Correct. So the
confiscated.
state legislator, with their
Wedding
support,
is also
and we're very
accused
thankful
of
for this.
murdering
We're
a
going to be
federal
offering
witness
grant money
after
for
he
both
was
the Mayor
indicted
Roads
in
Pipeline and the groundwater
2024.
program. The money
He used a
being
Canadian
distributed to the Texas Water
website
Development
called The
Board.
Dirty
That's the
News
mechanism for
to
distributing
post
the grants. As
photographs
part
of
the
the
rules and
witness
regulations,
and his
it's a
wife
formality for
in order to
council approve
locate him,
CCW to
which
submit the grant
ultimately
application.
succeeded. The
The
witness was gunned down in a restaurant in Medellin before he could testify against Wedding.
9019 Rusty's.
Today, we're unsealing a new indictment charging Wedding with 2 additional counts of witness tampering and intimidation, murder, money laundering, and drug trafficking.
Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission.
The website that was used to hunt down this witness and his wife, that has since been removed. That has been deleted.
You may be aware,
Protecting federal witnesses from retaliation
churches
is core to the department's mission. It's about individual safety, but more, it's about protecting the rule of law itself. The new indictment also includes several other individuals involved in the murder of the witness and other crimes in connection with this criminal enterprise. You're going to be hearing more about that from the people behind me. We're working very closely with our partners at the State Department and the Department of Treasury. The State Department has raised the reward for Ryan Wedding from $10 million to $15 million.
Alcohol Beverage Commission. The
We're offering $2 million rewards for information leading to the arrest of those involved in the murder of the witness. The Treasury Department's Foreign Asset Control is seizing assets belonging to approximately 19 of the targets associated with Wedding's criminal enterprise, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I want to thank the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California, as well as our Canadian law enforcement partners for their steadfast commitment to bring Ryan Wedding to justice. I also want to thank the Colombian National Police, who have greatly helped us. Let me be clear, drugs are killing our kids. Whether you are a street-level drug dealer, a common street-level drug dealer, or an international drug kingpin, we are coming for you. We will find you.
So the general commercial district does allow bars, taverns, nightclubs by right. So it does not have an underlying zoning issue, and it is undergoing renovations into a bar and food service factory. This is just a brief background on
confirm if it is in conformance with city policy. So going through all of those steps, just like we would do for a zoning case, we've determined that the bar does have the correct zoning. It is in line with future land use as a commercial use. It is within the character of the neighborhood, as you do have other bar establishments along this commercial corridor. So we do take that into account when coming to a decision. And moving to public input, of 61 notices mailed out, we received 0 in favor and 0 opposition. So we did reach out. We did reach out to the church as well. We did not hear a response back if they had any pro or con feelings towards the potential variance. Again, as part of that consideration, We took into account
confirm if it is in conformance with city policy. So going through all of those steps, just like we do for a zoning case, we determine that the bar does have the correct zoning. It is in line with future land used as a commercial use. It is within the character of neighborhood, as you do have other bar establishments along this commercial corridor. So we do take that into account when coming to a decision. We're doing this in a case, moving to public input of 61 notices made out received.
Into consideration, staff does recommend approval of the variance request, as it is a 14-foot shortfall. It is 286 feet away. It is pretty close to meeting that 300-foot mark. Of course, because development services encourage infill development as well as small businesses to occupy structures that would nevertheless be vacant. But all that being said, staff is recommending approval, and we stand to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Andrew.
All that being said, staff is recommending
Andrew,
approval,
I've got a
and
few
we stand to
problems with
address
this.
any questions you may have.
Who reached out to the church from our department?
Both, it would stand to address any questions you may have.
Who reached out to the church from our department? So
Both, it would stand to address any questions you may have.
who reached out to the church with anyone, and that they do not, they are not for this establishment. You have the bar, you have a vacant lot, and then you have the church. So
Staff does recommend approval of the very answer request, as it is a 14-foot shortfall. It is 286 feet away. It is pretty close to meeting the 300-foot mark, which is the development services for the operation and the development of the 12-foot. Well, it's for businesses to occupy structures that would nevertheless be vacant. But all that being said, staff is recommending approval, and we stand to address any questions in behalf. Thank you. Andrew, thank you. So, Andrew, I've got a few problems with this.
And I know this again because they reached out to me and I spoke with the pastor. As a matter of fact, are they here? Is anybody? Oh, look, okay. They are here. Okay, great. We'll hear from you in a sec. And their concerns were great because they had not spoken to the city. My concern is a couple of things. When we say it is in the character of the neighborhood, we want to build a neighborhood. And I don't think this is defining in the best way that neighborhood. That corridor, it's in desperate need of revitalization.
Because they reached out to me, and I spoke with the pastor. Is my factory, are they here? Is anybody? Oh, look. Okay, they are here. Okay, great. We'll hear from you in a sec. And their concerns were great because they had not spoken to the city. My concern is things when we say it is in the character of the neighborhood.
This is coming from them. They said, we're gonna wait this out because they came to the city and the city said, we can't do anything about it. Of course, bars are there. But when the bars, if and when the bars close, then they can't come back because of the 300-foot ordinance.
Yeah, it's been picked up already.
Unless this day comes where there is an acceptance, right? An exception. I don't see a reason.
They said, we're going to wait this out because they came to the city and the city said, we can't do anything about it. Of course, bars are there, but when the bars, if and when the bars
they waited for
close.
5 bars to close because they do have things. I was there Sunday and their congregation was there at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. They were getting ready for a festival. So I don't believe that because church hours are X, Y, and Z and bar hours are X, Y, and Z, that doesn't cause a problem. We also have residents. There are some elderly residents that would live 20 feet from the back door of that bar. Multiple homes there. And I know you didn't receive any, I was going to ask you that, notices, but I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't reach out to, and maybe
because they do have things. I was there Sunday, and their congregation was there at 4, 5 in the afternoon. They were getting ready for a festival. So I can't. I don't believe that because church hours are X, Y, and Z, and bar hours are X, Y, and Z, that doesn't cause a problem. We also have residents. There are some elderly residents that would live.
Because they're 300 feet, within 300 feet. So I don't see how the city should say, we're going to make this exception based on what? I don't rebuild a character by going backwards to what they have come from. when they first bought that building. But I'll let other council members give their input. Councilwoman Corpus.
Thank you, Mayor. And you do bring up a good point. As a matter of fact, I'm glad that you acknowledge the history of that location, which is La Malinche. I personally am very familiar with that location. Growing up, I was the one that would go get the masa whenever the tamales we were making during this time. So
there are 300 feet within 300
yes,
feet, so I don't see how the city should say, and we're going to make this exception based on what. I don't rebuild a character, I go backwards, so it come from a neighborhood by the building. But I'll let other council members. Thank you, Mayor, and you do bring up a good point. As a matter of fact, I'm glad that you acknowledge the history.
Is there, and there's also the bakery, I think, in the corner. And I think slowly it is, trying to come back to life. And I do appreciate that there is an interest in that location, but I don't think a bar is something that any neighborhood would put up, not in the south side, not in the north side. So I don't understand why we would do this to this historic neighborhood. I call it historic because that's where I grew up, so, and La Malinche, for me, is very historic. So again, I will not be supporting this, and I hope, and I'm glad that that the mayor reached out to the church, and a lot of times, I'm real
so
bad
the bakery,
about my mail,
I think, in the corner, and I think slowly it is trying to come back to life. And I do appreciate that there's an interest in that location, but I don't think a bar is something that any neighborhood would put up, not in the south side, not in the north side. So I don't understand why we would do this in this room.
I still would like to hear from the church, the pastors, but honestly, I don't believe I'll be supporting this. So.
Councilman Kentu.
You said it's 14 feet, right?
Correct. 14 feet short.
That's like from here to the mayor, more or less?
More or less, I would say just over an NBA basket. That's exactly 10 feet, so just a hair over there.
I know the area. I travel that area all the time, and honestly, it's getting better. PD's doing a good job getting the prostitutes and the drugs off the streets. But there's still a lot of prostitution going on in that neighborhoods and drugs. I want Corpus Christi to be open for business, right?
From the church,
we want
the pastors,
refiners to
but
come
honestly,
to Corpus Christi and
I don't
open their
believe I'll be
business
supporting
here.
this.
I don't
So,
see what's the
Councilman
big problem
Kenton,
with
you
the
said it's
bar,
14 feet, right?
convenience
Correct.
store, or
14
anything
feet
like
short.
that. We
That's
won't
like
be
from
getting
here to
tax
the mayor,
revenue from
more
the
or less,
JVC,
more or less. I would say just
license,
over an NBA basket. That's exactly 10 feet, so just a hair over there. I know the area,
but,
I travel that area all the time,
maybe 2 blocks away, more or less, by the O'Reillys.
Yes, further down there is another establishment. The difference is, and just to be clear, within the UDC, 26% of sales, of gross sales, have to come from food to be considered a restaurant.
Yeah.
So one thing that can change between now and then is if the applicant chooses to serve pizza. They are now a restaurant and can still serve.
They could get a food beverage license. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the question is, it's a very small change that can occur. I think at this time, his motive was purely to stick to just alcohol sales. But if that changes to a restaurant within the next so many days, it can still open at that same.
So if they change into a restaurant, pay I think it's like $12 more.
Or mother,
for
or at
TBC to
least,
do
yes, further down, there is another establishment. The difference is, and just to be clear, within the UDC, 26% of sales, gross sales, have to come from food to be considered a restaurant. So one thing that can change between now and then is if the applicant chooses to serve pizza, they are not a restaurant and can still serve food by their presence. Exactly. And so the question is, it's a very small change.
Because it's 14 feet off. And I would much rather not get that tax revenue than to put a bar beside a church. And I guarantee you that church has been praying those bars out of there. And so I'm not going to be one that's going to vote to put one in. And thank you.
Councilwoman Paxson.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. We should be very interested in being a positive partner.
And I would much rather not get that tax revenue than to put a bar beside a church. And I guarantee you that church has been praying those bars out there. And so I'm going to be one that's going to vote to put one in, and thank you.
Was considered congruent with that plan. However, I share the sentiments of Councilwoman Vaughn, that we're talking about a 300-foot barrier because we have a place of worship there. And, it's important to me that we balance bringing in new business with creating community spaces that really service the people living there. And so I recognize, going up and down that road, I recognize that there's a lot of room for us to work with new businesses coming in and develop a space that's vibrant.
To congruent
But
with that
this
plan,
isn't,
however,
in my
I share the
definition,
sentiments of
the
Councilman
direction
Vaughn
to go with
that we're
that.
talking about a
And so,
300-foot barrier
I think
because we
that
have a place of
this
worship
doesn't
there.
serve
And
the purpose
it's important to me that we
cultivating
balance bringing in new business with
growth
creating
and
community
community
spaces that
space
really service
and
the people
cleaning
living.
up areas. It's not congruent with that, in my opinion. And so I appreciate staff's recommendation and all that you put in the packet. I really do. But I won't be supporting that for that reason. Thank you.
Councilman Roy.
So this is District 1, and I went out, and I'm a little confused. So I'd like some clarification. When you measure 300 feet, what are you measuring that from?
It is from the front door of the establishment to the front door of the church.
Okay. Because I have a size 13 foot, and it's about 2 inches longer than 12 feet. So I paced it. I didn't go with a tape measure.
It's
And
not
the
congruent with that,
distance
in my opinion. And
to
so
me
I
seems a
appreciate
lot
staff's
shorter,
recommendation
and I did
and
it
all that you put in the
twice,
package.
so-
I really do. But I won't be supporting that for that reason. Thank you, Councilman Roy. So this is District 1, and I went out, and I'm a little confused. So
and for
I'd
that
like some
reason, again, I
clarification.
think
When
it's
you
actually
measure
closer.
300 feet,
It was
what are you
our GIS
measuring that
survey
from? It is
of
from the front
measuring-
door of the staff.
So nobody went out? You just, how did you do it?
We have a GIS software, Geographic Information System, that gives fairly accurate measurement
To the front
to the front door.
to the front door. Yeah. I have a problem with that in itself because measuring right to the front door, there's a lot of activities. So you have, at your church, you have the parking lot, you have the people, you have kids. If they're doing a Easter egg hunt and that, it's, I think we need to look at that too, from maybe the edge of the property. But I guess the state sets that. But overall, at the end of the day, I'm not supporting this project either. So if they want to come back and do a restaurant or rethink their plan, that's fine. But at this point, I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to open public hearing. Anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment on item 20, we will hear you out.
Good afternoon, esteemed council members and mayor. So my name is Manuel Lewis. I'm here representing as the president of the board of this church, Alpha Omega. And just to add some color and context to what we've been talking about, we have been at this location for more than 20 years. We moved to the 700 block of Port in 1999. At that time, like as was stated already, there were 5 bars at this location. And while these bars were in operation, we've dealt with several of the bar's patrons entering our sanctuary inebriated and causing a scene. We had Sunday services morning and night, along with Wednesday night services, Thursday night services. We have Vacation Bible School for children and all of those things, and not even to mention festivals.
So
and
my
other
name is
activities that
Manuel
we have
Lewis.
there
I'm
at
here
our
representing
church.
as the president of the board of this
Our
church,
church has had
Alpha
people passed
Omega.
out
And just to add
at our
some
front
color
door.
and context to what
We've
we've been
had
talking
to
about,
deal with
we have
vomit,
been at this location
urine,
for more than
feces,
20 years. We moved to the 700
in
block
front
of Port
of
in
and around our
1999.
building.
At that time,
We've had
as
our
was stated
vehicles broken
already,
into.
there were 5
We've had our
bars at this
sanctuary
location. And while these
itself
bars were in
broken into.
operation, we've
There's
dealt
been
with
car
several of
wrecks,
the bars.
fights, any other manner of violence that is associated with a bar in that area. We have to pick up trash on our doorstep, including, of course, beer bottles and cans, and drug paraphernalia. We've had our parking lot, which is fenced in, cut, and broken into. They've stolen a barbecue pit that we use for fundraisers and just regular fellowship time with our church. These are all things that we've had to deal with. We've even had our city trash cans taken. We've had damage to our windows. We've had graffiti on the side of the church. So these bars were open at all hours of the day, including Sunday mornings.
Any
during
other
our
manner of
service.
violence that it's associated
The
with the
buildings
par
were
in that
always in
area.
disrepair,
We have
and
to
they
pick up
continue to
trash on our
decline as the
doorstep,
years
including, of
passed.
course, beer
And if you
bottles
drive
and
down that
cans
way,
and
as
drug
you said you had, you
paraphernalia.
can
We've had our parking
see,
light, which is fenced
the
in,
state of those
cut and broken
buildings
into. They've
and
stolen a
how they
barbecue
are
pit that
right
we
now.
use for fundraisers and just regular
So
fellowship
thankfully,
time with our
those bars
church. These
closed
are all
one by one.
things
The
that
last
we've
one
had.
was Mika's Lounge, which did finally close as well. Our congregation is actively pushing for the betterment of our community. We invest in services to help the individual families
Are
one by
finally
one.
closed as well.
We have done so and we will continue to do so. And we just ask that the city council would help us to ensure the safety of our congregation. Most of our members are working class and low income, and they come to receive the hope that our church offers. Just like any church, in any part of the city, security is always an issue. I actually work for the
We will
city of
continue
Corpus
to
Christi. I am
do
a police
so, and
officer,
we just ask that
and
the
I
city
volunteer my
council would
time.
help us to ensure the safety of our congregation.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you for your comment,
Thank you.
Pastor. Or, I'm sorry, you're the president. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Isabel Isa, District 1. I just want to say that I'm super grateful for you all to take into consideration the concerns of residents of a neighborhood and the quality of life that they have, and how what the city is saying happened and why it's okay actually reflects a different perspective of reality than what the pastor is saying. That his experience in that space actually shows a disrespect to the community and problems, kind of like the way that Hillcrest experiences.
Thank you for your comment,
a
Pastor,
disrespect
or I'm sorry,
and a lack of
you're the president.
awareness about
Sorry,
how they're
thank you.
being
Is about.
impacted
I said
by
District 1.
a
I just want to
business
say that I'm
interest,
super grateful
and
for
they
you
would
all
like
to
the
take into
people to be
consideration the
centered
concerns of residents of the
instead
neighborhood and the quality of
the
life
other
that they
group
have
being
and how what the
centered.
city
So
is saying
I'm
happened and
really
why it's okay.
impressed that you guys are acknowledging that and that their experiences matter. And I would really love for you to kind of carry that with you forward when we address items 17 and 18 and 19. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, my name is Armand Alex, long life resident of Corpus Christi. I concur with Dr. Adaiza. It's really nice to see that there are council members that are wanting to put forth and forward and prioritize the input of our neighbors and our community members. I was not so much surprised that this was another example of the city trying to move forward with the silence of residents,
acknowledging that and that their experiences matter, and I would really love for you to kind of carry that with you forward when we address items 17 and 18 and 19. Thank you. How do you? My name is Arm, and Alex, long life resident of Corpus Christi. I concur with Doctor. It's really nice to see that there are council members that are wanting to put forth and forward, and
perhaps they weren't receiving it. Maybe sending a text to someone that doesn't have a phone, etc. But there was some kind of misstep there. And I completely agree that I would hope that that is the same kind of energy in terms of city council members being or wanting to elevate the voices of community members as it relates to a dynamic like this, where you're having communities say, we don't want this here. And you're listening to that and moving forward with that rather than just perhaps a business owner. And quite frankly, does Corpus Christi need another bar? Look, I frequent a bar too from time to time, but do we need another one? They're popping up everywhere. And we should support the local businesses that we have. We've got some bar owners on council.
Maybe sending a text to someone that doesn't have a phone, etc. But there was some kind of misstep there. And I completely agree. I would hope that that's the same kind of energy in terms of or one of the elevated where you're heading to the DSA. We do a lot this year.
Etc. So I would encourage this council now to move forward with that as well. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Eric Gunthu rattled my brain and brought back a memory. My first year as a counselor, Lamar Childress, and I was a school counselor.
I would encourage this council not move forward with that as well. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you.
And your city, please.
Corpus Christi.
Thank you,
Lamar
ma'am.
Childress in Corpus Christi.
Thank you, ma'am.
So again, my first year as a counselor was at Lamar Elementary School. A week after I was given my contract, the newspaper put out that the Corpus Christi Police Department was zeroing in on that neighborhood for the high-level drugs and prostitution. My mother called me and asked, had I read the article in the newspaper a week after I got my contract, and was I going to go do home visits there? And if the prostitutes asked me to go in, was I going to go in? And I said, yes, I will be doing home visits. And if a prostitute asked me to go in, I'm going to go in and have tea and cookies with her because I'm an advocate for her kid. And I taught the kids in that school.
So again, my first year as a counselor was at Lamar Elementary School. A week after I was given my contract, the newspaper put out that the Corpus Christi Police Department was zeroing in on that neighborhood for the high management and prostitution. My mother called me and asked, had I read the article in the newspaper maybe a week after I got my contract, and was I going to go do home visits there?
A fifth grade little girl comes to my class, to my office, and tells me, Ms. Childress, you grew up in this neighborhood, and you grew out of your poverty. My mom and my grandmother tell me I'm going to grow up to be nothing but a prostitute. But you've shown us that we can grow out of this. And she told me she was going to get herself educated, and she was never going to be a prostitute. So when I hear that a church wants to go in the neighborhood where I was a counselor for all these children, we don't need to have bars and all that in that neighborhood. As you can see, I'm here because I'm still an advocate for kids. So please, I don't care if it's even across the street or if it's 400 feet. The feet doesn't make any difference. We don't need any of that in the environment. These children need to have positive things to look at.
Comes to my class, to my office, and tells me this child is correct and you grew out of your poverty. My mom and my grandmother told me I'm going to grow up to be nothing but a prostitute. But you've told us that we can grow out of this, and she told me she was going to get herself educated and she was never going to be a prostitute. So when I hear that a church wants to go in the neighborhood where I was a counselor for all these children, we don't need to have.
Police telling our Josh Maxwell they don't believe the shooting was a random act of violence and are still collecting information to lock down a suspect. Josh joins us now with that report. Josh.
As a member who cares for our community, who cares for our city, who cares for our children and our future, I feel like it is in our best interest to protect
and trying to get a description of the vehicle. He says he believes this incident is related to a shooting that happened just over the weekend.
As Officer Lewis mentioned, we spoke with his $12,000 a month if we were to pay him.
One mother says she wasn't home when the shooting happened, but her kids often play outside.
And
that's something she says will change after
we would
this.
not be able to do so
Events like this are just not random shootings. This one was a drive-by shooting. We're still trying to gather preliminary
and as Officer Lewis has mentioned, we have fought hard for our church. We have fought hard to build the building so that we can be there. As a member who cares for our community, who cares for our city, who cares for our children and our future, I feel like it is in our best interest to protect a small congregation, to protect people that are trying to make a better life for themselves. As Officer Lewis mentioned, we are doing it so far.
We can move forward and
As
we
right
can
now,
do
they're
what's
still
best for
working
our
to get
city.
evidence from
One life
witnesses.
at a
Now
time.
that includes
Thank
any
you.
surveillance video or ring camera footage that could help identify that suspect vehicle. So tonight, that search for the person who fired the deadly gunfire continues. Temed says once caught, they can face capital murder charges, the highest offense in the state of Texas. And of course, this is an investigation we'll continue to follow and keep
Forward,
you
and we can
updated
do
on.
what's best for our city. One life at a time. Thank you.
I'm just
Thank
here
you.
saying it's so delightful and so warm to hear the concerns that you have for our neighborhoods, of to build them up, to make them a better home for others. And in Hillcrest, we will want the same thing too. So thank you.
Thank you.
The life form and so warm to hear the concerns that you have for neighborhoods.
Rachel Caballero, D1. I am so moved. I'm so moved. I didn't know you had it in you, honestly. I am taken aback. I thank you for considering the needs of a neighborhood. Thank you for talking to property owners. One issue I do have, shocker, is that city staff lied yet again. City staff that we've caught lying on multiple occasions. city staff that we as a community have not been able to rely on for honest information.
Rachel Cavallero, D1.
And,
I'm so
honest
moved.
distribution
I'm
of making
so
sure
moved.
that
I didn't know you
mailers
have
are
it
being
in
sent
you,
out
honestly.
to the neighbors.
And
that is an issue, and that is why this community has a
thank
really
you for
hard
considering the
time
needs of a neighborhood.
entrusting
Thank you for
this
talking.
staff
Thank you. Thank you.
with
Thank
an
you.
experiment. So I commend the council. I mean, this has to be the first time for me in 4 or 5 years that we have this type of support within a community. It's amazing. I mean, I'm hoping this leaf is being turned over. And thank you for running a quick council meeting. Again, first time in 5 years. Craziness. Thank you.
Christina English, District 1. I also want to say thank you so much. These are beautiful words. This is exactly the way we should be planning our community. Vibrant spaces, yes. Community, yes. Thank you. Input
So I commend the
from
council.
The community.
I mean,
yes,
this has to be the first time for me in 4 or 5 years that we have this type of support for it within a community. It's amazing. I mean, I'm hoping this belief is being turned over. And thank you for running a quick council meeting. Again, first time in 5 years, craziness. Thank you.
Every other decision you make. I know that people in other neighborhoods have been praying things away as well. They've been praying for years. And I hope that their prayers are answered. I hope that we are as concerned about the prayers of certain communities as we are about others. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Eli McKay, District 1. Didn't come here to speak about this, but just was like some of my other community members moved by your words. I live in District 1. I have lived in District 1.
I know that
for
people in other neighborhoods have been praying things away as well. They've been praying for years, and I hope that their prayers are answered. I hope that we are as concerned about the prayers of certain communities as we are about others. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Things people say about it. I think there's so much potential there. When I first moved here, I lived in the Donna Park neighborhood, and the first day that I was here, my dad said, hop in the truck, I'll take you and show you your new city. He took me down from Navigation to Leopard, and from Leopard down to the seawall. And so my first view and vision of Corpus Christi was Leopard Street. Coming from Western Colorado, I'll say it was quite a difference from what I was used to. But even then, I was hopeful and I saw potential in the things that I saw driving by Metro Ministries. I love to see people helping people, and so.
And I think there's so much potential there. When I first moved here, I lived in the Donna Park neighborhood. And the first day that I was here, my dad said, hop in the truck. I'll take you and show you naive. It took me down from Navigation to Leopard and from Leopard down to the seawall. And so my first view and vision of Corpus Christi was.
I would like to see the city being harder on the property owners to maintain and upkeep the buildings in these areas so that other types of businesses would want to come in. We have oversaturation of bars, we have oversaturation of car washes, and we have a lot of oversaturation of things that are probably not the most forward-thinking types of businesses. So that to be said, thank you. I don't think that this area needs another bar. I think there's plenty of bars, and also I think there's plenty of churches. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is item number 20. Yes, sir.
Alex Benavides, District 3.
The city being harder on property owners to maintain and upkeep the buildings in these areas so that other types of businesses want to come in. We have oversaturation of bars. We have oversaturation of car washes, and we have a lot of oversaturation of things that are probably not the most forward things in types of businesses. So that to be said, thank you. I don't think that this area needs another bar. I need
Scarborough were left feeling a little sheepish after monitoring a series of odd signals never before heard by the intelligence community.
We can't just let them fail. They're too big to fail.
At Yorkshire's own GCHQ listening station were baffled when they began picking up high-pitched squeaks from the base's forest of aerial masts.
It's not hard
They thought they'd uncovered a coded signal from a KGB agent trying to defect, and secretly even entertain the possibility that an alien race was trying to make first contact. Yes, GCHQ said that themselves.
Starving us out of our water,
incident took
starving
place
our
here
people out
at
of food,
GCHQ
stealing our
Scarborough,
resources,
a secret
and
government
refusing
radio
to
station
give
located on
anything back
Earton Moor on the
to
outskirts of
clean the
Scarborough in
systems
North Yorkshire.
that they've broken.
It's operated by the
to remove the
toxicity.
But when it comes to the different areas and different businesses, we can't just let them do it. They're too big to fail. Or pockets are being padded, right? So my question is, it's not hard. It's barely even just decent to be against drugs, to be against alcohol, prostitution. Oh, get your picture in. They're against prostitution. Who are you against?
Since 1914,
Is there anyone else?
it's conducted signals intelligence, or SIGINT. Following the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the Cold War, the site became the main station for the interception of Soviet
I'm going to go ahead and close public comment.
communications from Soviet ships at the height
I just
of the
wanted
Cuban
to add a
Missile
little bit,
Crisis,
just
and the
more
reports were
context
sent
with that
directly to
area.
the White House.
It reminded
there anyone
me
else?
of Rene Rodriguez, who was an attorney. For a long time, he had the Red Gangs organization right there on the other side by St. Joseph Church. So again, it ended up closing down, but I think it helped the church and that area, get rid of some of the prostitution, some of the drugs. So again, we all have to work together to try to figure out how we can enrich these neighborhoods and, just wanted to just remind the community and to pay homage to this great man that, really cared about that community and about that area. I just couldn't let this go without at least
Rene Rodriguez, who was an attorney for a long time, he had the Red Gangs organization right there. I was in a Joseph church, so again, it ended up closing down. But I think it helped the church in that area get rid of some of the prostitution, some of the drugs. So again, we all have to work together to try to figure out how we can.
270, I'm going to go and show you clear. 18. And that is a motion authorizing a memorandum of understanding with Corpus Christi desal Partners, a joint venture of Acciona Agua Corporation, USA, and Moztec Industrial Corporation to allow CCDP to prepare proposals with price certainty for design and construction for the Inner Harbor Water Treatment Campus for consideration at a future City Council meeting.
Holding people accountable for sometimes a big obstacle for the city. One of those properties is the Oyo Hotel on Mead Road in Baton Rouge. Two in your sites, Brittany Weiss takes us.
Many of whom have come in from out of town. Some live here, though. So starting
An abandoned hotel is turning into a costly problem.
Bonside, we have Dan
It's
Linedecker
eerie
from
being
Madura.
I remember it,
Shattered
and that is a motion
trash,
authorizing a
mattresses
memorandum of
tossed
understanding
this way
with
and
Corpus
that, an
Christi
abandoned
desal
car
Partners,
in the
a joint
parking lot.
venture in
Desal
Acciona Agua
situation.
Corporation,
This
USA,
is
and
the
Moztec
shuttered
Industrial
oil
Corporation
hotel
to allow
several
CCPD to
acres
prepare
off of
proposals
I-12
with
near
price
Sherwood
certainty
Forest
for
Boulevard.
design and
What's the
extraction
deal
for
with
the
this
Inner Harbor
place?
Water Treatment
And why
Campus
has it
for
been left this
consideration
way?
in a
It's a
future
city
city.
that was allowed to go into decline.
There are over 100 hotel rooms. Each one has been vandalized. It appears people are already taking advantage of this abandoned property by dumping several dozen tires in the back parking lot, which can't be seen from the road. But the city sees it, and they're not happy.
The owners have not been accountable for taking care of it.
The city parish took the property owner, Rajesh Patel, Baton Rouge Hoteliers LLC, to Blight Court this month. Fined them $900 and gave him 60 days to clean up. But it's tricky because the owner stopped paying on a $3.6 million loan in 2021.
The previous owner hadn't paid the taxes.
It was linked to a group out of state, which stopped paying, claiming they were sold a bad deal, and purchased in a September sheriff's sale to Blue 24, an out-of-state LLC. What are their plans? Owners say and responded with no comment when I called. The city says the shuttered Oyo Hotel can't stay this way. Instead of investing money in infrastructure elsewhere, it'll be boarding it up. Something that'll cost anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000.
We're diverting income that we need other places because people are not being accountable.
The city has plans to change that and make people take responsibility by increasing fines for blight fences.
The mayor wants to make people more accountable for blighted properties.
The city will place a lien on this property to recoup the cost of boarding it up, which is how it will stay until someone else brings it back into commerce.
So it's different in that it provides a
The mayor's
6-month
office is
review
spending millions of dollars
with
a year going after blighted properties.
certainty on a plant that could be constructed there. And so what this team, known as Corpus Christi Desal Partners, CCDP, has committed to doing it at no cost to the ratepayer is using the information we have to date from Kiewit that we paid $50 million
A long version.
for.
Okay, let me just do some
And using it
additional
to see what could
introduction.
be a
So
price
this
point
presentation
they
is
could come
consistent
to
with the memo that I
in
sent City
designing and
Council about
constructing
2 weeks
a
ago that
facility in
provided
Ann
an
Arbor,
alternate option other
somewhere
than
in the
just going to
neighborhood
the
of
number
30
two or
million
the
gallons.
second
So it could
bidder
be
for the
less,
procurement process for
millions of
desalinization facility in the
gallons.
harbor.
It
So
could
it's
also
different in
operate
that it
less than
provides a
what we initially
6-month
thought,
review with a
maybe
price
not
certainty.
being in operation during certain times of the year or seasons when it's less conducive to producing fresh water. And we'll explain more of that. So today's presentation also comes along with the vote. I'm recommending the City Council take a vote to approve an MOU, which I could enter into myself, but we want the council to endorse it. I could enter into an MOU as the city manager, but the council really needs to be behind this effort here, which is a 6-month effort that has 3 votes. One would be today to move this plan forward. That costs nobody, that costs the ratepayers nothing, I should say. The second vote would be on the option that the firm brings to the council, and there may be some iterations in that option. And so in about 6 weeks, that option would be brought forward to the city council for a vote, yes or no. And
Certain times of the year where seasons when it's less than 50 predicting fresh water, and we'll explain more of that. So today's presentation also comes along recommending the City Council take a vote to approve an MOU. We check it entering myself, but we want the council to endorse it without you know that one. I could enter into an MOU as a city manager, but the council really needs to be behind this effort here, which is a 6-month effort. That was 3.
We would manage it. The city would. It would be for the bay, the Corpus Christi Bay, the Nueces Bay, and the Inner Harbor Ship Channel. And that would be not only completed, but it would be peer-reviewed along the development of it with professionals and laypersons, professionals from institutions like the Hart Institute of TAMUCC and Coastal Bend, Beige, and Estuaries, and some lay individuals as well from the Hillcrest neighborhood, as an example. And then secondly, along this continuum, we would also put a request, if council approves in the 6-month timeframe this contract, we would immediately put out a request for proposals for an operator of the facility. And so that's another difference. The city, I'm recommending the city no longer entertain operating the plant facility. A private so that's another difference. The city, I'm recommending the city no longer entertain operating the plant facility.
Inner Harbor
So that's another difference. The city, I'm recommending the
operating the plant facility. Inner Harbor.
So that's another difference. The city, I'm recommending the operating the plant facility. Inner Harbor. So that's another difference. The city, I'm recommending what we had talked about at the water workshop most recently, which was just to go to the number 2 bidder and offer a contract. This one, as Brett's going to get into, says let's take 6 months, have this firm or company or group at no cost provide us proposals, decide if we want to move forward on those or not, and then along those lines, if we do move forward, 1, do a far field model, and 2, put an RFP for an operator maintainer of the facility. So with that, Brett's going to go through the presentation since he has it loaded up now, and he and the team in front of us and other team members will be here to answer questions, Mayor.
Okay, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. Brett Van Hazel, Director of Water Supply Management for Corpus Christi Water.
So,
in addition to the proposal that Peter was just describing, we're going to talk about a couple other things. The Water Development Board, we had some recent requests from council, so I can provide updates on that. We're going to talk about the project status as it relates really to Kiewit and their termination.
Staff
we'll
at a top secret listening station near Scarborough were left feeling a little sheepish after monitoring a series of odd signals never before heard by the intelligence community.
Bay, Nueces Bay,
even entertained the operated by the British Signals Intelligence Service. Following the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the Cold War, the site became the main station for the
staff
interception of
submitted a request to the Water Development Board requesting that the current approved SWIFT loans be reauthorized or reassigned.
That we're going to talk about the project status as it relates really to key information. We'll go through the city manager's proposal again. We'll talk about the Farfield modeling proposal and the Corpus Christi Bay, nueces Bay, and the ship channel. And then we'll talk about the staff's recommendation.
We submitted that letter on October 14th to the Water Development Board, and we did receive a response back from the executive administrator, Brian McMath. And his response, simply put, said that he would not make any recommendation to move the funds to any other project. So he simply stated that he would deny any change to the use of those SWIFT loans. So we did receive that one earlier in October. It's also worth noting that in September, the city did submit our annual loan closing schedule to the Water Development Board. So annually, we have to submit our proposed
The Water
drawdown
Development
of
Board
the
we
SWIFT
receive a
loans.
response back from the executive administrator,
we
Brian
had
McMahon. And his
requested
response
that
simply
this
said that you
year's
would not make any
drawdown be
recommendation to
deferred
move the
to
funds to
next
any
year.
other project. So he
So
simply
in
stated that
December,
you would
the board,
deny
the
any
Water
change to the use
Development
of the
Board is
SWIFT loans.
going
So
to
we did
consider
receive that
that
one.
request. So I mentioned that because today's decision may impact their decision. So I just wanted to make sure you guys know that. Regarding the project status update, so in September, on the 23rd, we had a council workshop, and at that workshop, I presented 4 alternate delivery options for consideration. One of those, as Peter mentioned, was to go to the number 2 ranked firm, which was Acciona. That option was not selected, nor were any of the other 3. Today's city manager's proposal is a variation of that, and we'll talk about it more. At the October 3rd council meeting,
I mentioned that because today's decision may impact their decision. So I just wanted to make sure you guys don't have to be here. Regarding the project Saturday, so in September 23rd, we had a council workshop, and at that workshop, I presented 4 alternate delivery options for consideration. One of those, as Peter mentioned, was to go to the number 2 ranked firm to
collecting all of the project deliverables and data. We've been working on demobilizing the pilot plant, both at the port property along the ship channel, as well as all the equipment at their shipping yard. We've also closed out all of their subcontracts, agreements, licenses, leases, etc. All those have been closed. The city's in the process of inventorying all of the equipment that Kiewit did purchase that could not be returned. So we're planning on taking ownership of that equipment. So we're going to go out, grab it, and we're going to bring it back to CCW for potential use, either maybe on this project, or maybe there's other projects around the city that we can utilize that equipment and material for. And then we're working on final invoicing.
The project deliverables and data we've been working on demobilizing the pilot plant both at the port property along the ship channel, as well as all the equipment at their shipping yard. We've also closed out all of their subcontracts, agreements, licenses, etc. All those have been closed. The city's in the process of inventory all of the equipment that Kiewit did purchase that could not be returned.
And all of the data to include like the basis of design report, the pilot protocol, and other design deliverables. We do have a number of assets available to the city for use on this project, to include the SWIFT loans, which again, the Water Development Board is going to make a vote on our request for deferment in December. We also have both of our intake and discharge permits, which are fully approved by the TCEQ. We also have our core permit that has been approved. We have our property agreement that's still in place with option years with Flint Hills. And we have our agreement with AEP for power. So that's all been paid for. AEP is moving forward with the design and construction of that substation.
Data to include like the basis of design report, the pilot protocol, another design deliverable. We do have a number of assets available to the city for use on this project to include the SWIFT loans, which again, the Water Development Board is going to make a vote on our request for deferment in December. We also have both our intake and discharge permits, which are fully approved by the TCQ. We also have our request.
So as Peter was mentioned earlier, we have, man, did I move forward too much? Sorry, I know it threw me off. So the city manager proposal, as he was describing earlier, includes partnering with the number 2 ranked firm, which is Acciona, and they plan to enter into a joint venture with MasTech, and that joint venture is the Corpus Christi dhsCCPD partners. And as he mentioned, we have a lot of those team members here today. So the big differences, as Peter mentioned, between the original proposal and this proposal is, one, the original contract included design, build, and
so
then
as Peter was mentioned earlier, we have, man, did I move forward too much? Sorry, I know that threw me off. So the city manager proposal, as he was describing earlier, includes partnering with the number 2 ranked firm, which is Acciona, and they plan to enter into a joint venture with MasTech, and that joint venture is the Corpus Christi diesel partner.
To get a owner-operator in there. We'll still own it, so maybe that's not the right term. It's an operation and maintenance company to come in and maintain it for a 30-year term. And we would do a take-or-pay contract with them buying the water. The other big change is we're going to be providing all of the information that Kiewit has developed to date. They'll use that to develop proposals that will outline maybe a particular production rate, i.e., 20 million gallons per day, 25 million gallons per day, and then a price associated with that production. So it's, as we've termed it, a preliminary guaranteed maximum price that would, as we transition into the
owner-operator in there will still own it, so maybe that's not the right term. It's an operation and maintenance company to come in and maintain it for a 30-year term, and we would do a take-or-pay contract with them buying the water. The other big change is we're going to be providing all of the information that Kiewit has developed to date. They'll use that to develop proposals that will outline maybe a particular production rate.
So assuming that we get today's approval, the next step will be for city staff to turn over all the information that we've been provided from Kiewit. The Corpus Christi dhsCCPD partner group will evaluate the data, and they'll develop multiple options for the city to consider. And we will be bringing the item back to City Council in the, call it February timeframe, where we will present the different options for consideration. Council will choose one of the options, and then we will then take that, we will work with the Corpus Christi dhsCCPD partner group, and we will develop a contract which we will then bring back to council again for consideration, and then upon approval of that contract.
The next step will be for city staff to turn over all the information that we've been provided from Kiewit. The Corpus Christi diesel partner group will evaluate the data, and they'll know multiple options for the city to go to the service portion, and we will be bringing the item back to City Council in the, call it, February time frame, where we will present the different options for consideration.
Again, the Corpus Christi dhsCCPD partners, and I do apologize, it's not CCPD. It gets a little confusing when you're writing this out multiple times. The group is Acciona and MasTech, and then they have a number of strong local, national team members involved. Some of them include the ones I've listed up here, with, again, Raytech, Greg Reyes being here today, and then Ardura, we have Dan Leindecker and his team. So we have some strong local and national team members involved, with Acciona and MasTech leading the charge. Acciona is going to be the design development group, with their team of consultants. They're going to be the ones that develop the design. They have extensive
I do apologize. It's not CCPD. It gets a little confusing when you're writing this out multiple times. The group is Acciona and MasTech, and then they have a number of strong local national team members involved. Some of them include the ones I've listed up here with, again, Raytech, Greg Reyes being here today. We have Dan Lindecker and his team.
People underneath them. So they're going to be the ones that actually do the construction for this project. They're going to be involved the entire way through the project. And both parties have extensive experience in large complex projects, which is exactly what we're dealing with here on the Inner Harbor project. So we have the right group of people ready to design and build this project. Now, transitioning over to one of the other recommendations that staff is making today is to continue with a far field model, and that would include modeling the ship channel, Corpus Christi Bay, and Nueces Bay. So we're going to be recommending going out with a professional service contract and getting a qualified hydrodynamic modeler to perform this modeling.
So they're going to be the ones that actually do the construction for this project. They're going to be involved the entire way through the project. And both parties have extensive access to projects, which is exactly what we're dealing with here on the Inner Harbor project. So we have the right group of people ready to build, design, and build this project. Now transitioning over to one of the other recommendations that staff is making today is to continue with the FAR.
Peter listed off a number of them earlier. And that group would be involved during the development of the modeling and then also be part of the review of the findings. So we would bring all that information back to council. We would develop a report. We would have that group involved in a peer review, and then we would come back and present it at City Council. Now, this modeling effort wouldn't happen until after we've said we're going to and Peter, this is where I maybe need some guidance, but we're going to pursue, get a recommended modeler and come back, but I think we may wait until our third vote on the actual project before we proceed.
That's correct. We'll begin writing the RFP.
Number of them earlier in that group would be involved during the development of the modeling and then also be part of the review of the findings. So we would bring all that information back to council. We would develop a report. We would have that group involved in a peer review, and then we would come back and present it at City Council. Now this modeling effort wouldn't happen until after we said we're going to.
One of the ones that we haven't talked about is we're gonna actually terminate the task order that we currently have with Freeze and Nichols to perform owner agent services for the Inner Harbor project. We're going to go out and with a new competitive procurement process to get another owner's representative. So we will start that procurement process next month. So we'll start developing what that package looks like, and then we'll put it out. It's important for us to get an owner's agent on board prior to starting the design and construction. So we will have all of that completed prior to the third vote to award the actual design build contract if we get to that phase. The next item that we're going to be working towards is the one I was just talking about, where we would go out for a far field modeling consultant.
One of the ones that we haven't talked about is we're going to actually terminate the task order that we currently have for each of the Nichols to perform owner agent services for the Inter Harbor project. We're going to go out and with a new competitive procurement process to get another owner's representative. So we will start that procurement process next month. So we'll start developing what that package looks like, and then we'll put it out. It's important for us to get an owner's agent on board.
Christi desal partners. So our staff recommendation is to authorize the city manager to execute an MOU with CCPD, and this will allow them to develop the proposals at no cost to the city. And the proposals, again, will be submitted based on the schedule that was shown earlier. So we'd be looking at a February timeframe to come back to review those options. Council would vote on an option, and then the city would develop a contract based on that option, which we would then come back in April for approval. That is the end of the presentation. I stand by ready for questions.
So we'll be looking at February time frame to come back to review those options. So we'll be looking at February time frame to come back to review those options.
For doing this. So you said that we sent a letter out to TWDB to ask for an extension for the second set of monies, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we won't get that answer until December when they vote for it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. My other question is, you said that we will not do a far-field study until after the third vote. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
So I think that would be my recommendation, is we wait If we're not going to move forward with this, it's really up to council.
So you said that we
I
sent
think-
a letter
I think
out to TWDB to ask
needs
for an
to know
extension for the second set of money,
it's safe
right?
or
That's
not.
correct.
I mean,
Okay, and we won't get that
even
answer
if
until
it gets
December when they
voted
vote
down
for it,
today,
correct? That's correct. Okay.
still have permits. So we need to figure out if this is good for our bay. Once and for all. Like, I don't understand why we can't just get that done. We need to get that done starting tomorrow. Even if it doesn't get the votes today. I mean, that's what the public wants. Everybody who comes to public comment, everybody on social media is talking about it, and I think we need to do it. We have the money, I think we need to do that. I just don't understand why we have to wait.
Councilman, we don't have to wait. We can proceed.
Because what is the ETA for something like that? If we're going to use the same person who did the Port of Corpus Christi, correct? Is that what we're going to be
So we
looking
need
at?
to
or-
figure out if this is good for our bay. We're breaking our hearts and for all. I don't understand why we can't just get that done. We need to get that done starting tomorrow. Even if it doesn't get the vote show. I mean, that's what the public wants. Everybody who comes to public comment, everybody on social media is talking about it. And I
Is there
think
a
we need to
time
do
frame
it. We have the
for the
money,
results of
I
everything?
think we need to do it.
I would say probably 3 to 4 months was
Yeah.
a good timeline for them
Yeah.
to collect all the data and run the models again.
Okay. How much do you think it will cost?
I mean, we've seen proposals 50,000 to 100,000.
That's good. It's not $1 million, right?
No, it's not a
Okay,
million.
so I want to make sure. Okay, all right. My other concern is going to be the PFAS in the waters. So my understanding is that they're going to start regulating that in 2030. Is that true?
1635.
Yeah, Nick can speak to that, but that sounds about right, Councilman. But the only treatment worldwide to remove PFAS,
I would say
as they call
probably
them,
3 to 4 months
is
was,
a
a good
desalination
timeline for
facility.
them to collect all the
So it
data
will
and run the
remove it
models
from
again,
the
okay?
water.
I mean, we've seen proposals
we don't have that
50,000 to
treatment processing at our
100,000.
own
That's good.
Stevens,
It's
but
not
there
$1
will
million,
be- there is
right?
mandates
No,
that are on the
it's
books
not $1
right
million.
now
You want to make
to
sure,
I just wanna
okay?
make
All
sure
right,
that
our mother
if we
concern is going to
built
be
this
there.
plant, and then 2030 comes around, that's more or less the time frame that we're open. Are we going to have everything we need to be in regulations?
So Councilman, reverse osmosis, or RO, is the preferred and proven technology to remove PFAS from water. And that would be the same treatment used in seawater desalination.
And I also want to be transparent in this whole process. Even if it gets the third vote, I want to know who the contractors are. I want to know who's making money off of this deal. I want to be full transparent with the community. If the Farfield study comes back good and we move forward with this project.
In 2030 comes around,
What I wanna
that's
do
more or less the
also
time frame
is,
that we're open. Are we going to have everything we need to be in regulations? Yes, so Councilman reverse osmosis
make
or RO
sense
is the preferred and proven
why we're
technology to
going
remove FAW's
to
water.
vote
And that would be the
today
same treatment used in seawater
and not know
desalination.
what
And I
the
also
board
want to be
says about our
transparent
money.
from this
I
whole
mean,
process.
If they say
even
no, how are we going to pay for this?
It's at no cost to the city councilman, so they're not going to come.
But I don't want to waste their time, I want to, make sure that the board says, hey, we're going to extend it, and we can move forward and get a price and all that stuff.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I'm saying.
Councilman, we're going to know that in 3 weeks. I think that board meeting is the second week in December. So with the Thanksgiving week, next week, not much will take place. So if any lost time is really a week or so. And Ryan Skrabachik and I and the team in front of me here plan to go visit Brian McMath at Texas Water Development Board the first week in December to make sure they know what we're recommending here. So we feel confident the state is still very much behind us here in Corpus Christi. The state is, and
I mean, how are we going to pay for this? It's at no cost to the city councilman, so they're not going to come. I don't want to waste their time. I'm going to run one, make sure that the board says, hey, we're going to extend it, and we can move forward and get a price and all that stuff. That's the only thing I'm saying. Councilman, we're going to know that in 3 weeks. I think that board meeting is the second week in December. So with Thanksgiving week, next week, not much will take place. So, if any, the last time is really...
I've always been for desal. We need water. We need water for our partners. You know, that's where I always stated. That's where I stand. You know, I want to be open-minded. You know, we can't make everybody happy, but I want to be able to meet everybody in the middle. I think that's the most important thing. And I represent a district that it's a working class people. $10, $15 extra a month might not mean a lot to some of us, but means a lot to someone else. And that's the problem. You know, we have a lot of seniors in District 3. You know, I would like to see, you know, something for the seniors who can't afford if this moves forward. You know, that's just some of the stuff that I have issues with. But I do want to make a motion. I don't know how I want to make this motion, but I want to make this motion as if we're going to pass this to get a price tag on it. I want to see
I think that's the most important thing, and I represent a district that it's a working class people. $10, $15 extra a month might not mean a lot to some of us, but it means a lot to someone else.
Because if they're not going to extend it, then what's the purpose of doing it? We don't have the money. So I want to do something with the motion with that, and also make sure that the far-field study gets done within the time period they're doing their price tag on the project. That's the only way I'm going to vote on this today.
Thank you. Councilman Campos.
Well, you know, my position on this Inner Harbor has not changed. The worst location. It's a
the purpose of doing it. We don't have the money, so I want to do something with the motion with that, and also make sure that the far-field study gets done within the time period they're doing their price tag on the project. That's only what I'm going to vote on this today.
You know, voted to do away with the contract with Kiewit, so here we are on the second, you know, bidder that came in. Apparently, no doesn't seem to, I mean, it falls on deaf's ears. No is no. So I don't understand either how we've been asking for the far-field modeling for years. And we're still saying, oh, well, we have to wait. We have to wait. There's nothing to wait. I mean, we need to make sure, and I have heard from the Heart Institute, or I have read that location, again, is the worst one, the worst location. So
to do away with the contract with Kiewit. So here we are on the second. You know, better that came in. Apparently, no, doesn't seem to. I mean, falls in deaf's ears. No is no. So I don't understand either how we've been asking for the far-field modeling for years, and we're still saying, oh well, we have
that they can build this desalination plant and not destroy the bay or the beloved Hillcrest neighborhood. So of course my stance, like I said, has not. I see a lot of industry folks here. And I acknowledge, you know, that you do present a certain workforce, but it's not the entire workforce, okay? And it's unfair that the powers that be decide what is best for our community, because I think the pressure that some of my council members
plan and not destroy the base. I believe it took us a long time. So, could we repent for this? No. It has not changed. And I see a lot of folks here, and I acknowledge that you do present a certain workforce, but it's not what it's not.
Support the Inner Harbor desalination plant. I don't get that. I don't receive that because they know where I stand. I stand with the people. I will always stand with the people. I will always center them first. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Councilwoman, but we're not going to have decorum broken. And if anybody wants to, because we're going to be here for a while, we can head out now, because there will not be toleration for clapping, signs, this, that, and the other. So I'm letting you know now, fair and square. Thank you.
And it's also, you know, we have a city manager. We that,
the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant. I don't get that. I don't receive that because they know where I stand. I stand with the people. I will always stand with the people. I will always center them first. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're going to rev to you, Councilwoman. We're not going to have decor and broken. And if anybody wants to, because we're going to be here for a while, we can have now. There will not be tolerated.
This, you can see how important this issue is. Look at this. We're filled, and it's 1:15.
Engine 3 for NMN
The
down.
problem has always been that it has never been up for a vote.
Waco 1050.
And this is the only voice that we have. We get 3 minutes, or the people get 3 minutes to show their concerns, to, let the community know why, in most of the case, they don't want this, they never have, and they won't ever. So, I'm sorry that you are, being put through this, Brad, because I know it's not easy to stand here and, try to balance this.
No, you can see how important this issue is. Look at this. We're filled. And it's 150. It's never been up for a vote. And this is the only voice that we have. We get 3 minutes. What do people get 3 minutes to show their concerns to? Let the community know why, and most of it.
First off, I think there is a split. You have people that do want desal, you have people that don't. That's just the way it is. We don't know. Someone said they did a survey, I don't buy that survey, but we don't know who is and who doesn't, because we didn't take it to the voters. I wished we had, but we didn't. And I want to thank you for going back and looking at this, because in your defense, I will say, you went to some council members, maybe all, you knew what everyone was thinking. Would they go to a second bidder? I said absolutely. Because let me tell you, I'm getting all kinds of texts again. That's okay. You can keep texting me. I got broad shoulders. Doesn't bother me at all. You have every right to do that. But I am not a flip-flopper. I have been consistent in my message from the get-go. It's the cost. $1.2 billion was too much money to put on our ratepayers. And I stand by that.
I think there is a split. They do want to cow. You have people that don't. That's just the way it is. We don't know. Someone said they do the survey on by that survey, but we don't know who is and who doesn't, because we didn't take it to the voters. I wish we had, but we didn't. And I want to thank you for going back and looking at it. In your defense, I will say you went to some council members. Maybe all you knew what everyone was thinking. Would they go to a second bidder? I said absolutely, because let me tell you, I'm getting all kinds of.
Forward in doing this. I think you've put a great team together. I know some of them. I'm very impressed. Met with them the other day, learned so much more in an hour and a half than I'd ever did with Kiewit in 2 or 3 meetings. These guys care, or they wouldn't be here. Dan Leindecker's been here forever. He doesn't want to hurt our community. Greg Reyes is back there. Good to see you. And I haven't seen him for a long time. So, and I'm impressed with the others. I really am. So much good information. So I think that what today's vote is, it's not saying we're going to do desal, it's saying we're going to give them the opportunity to come back with a price. We all have to be open-minded. Who does not want to hear that? It's costing the city nothing. Now, if they move forward and they do it, I'm not stupid. They may add it to the price.
Now, I think you put a great team together. I know some of them. I'm very impressed. Met with them the other day. Learned so much more in an hour and a half than I ever did with Hewitt in 2 or 3 meetings. These guys care, or they wouldn't be here. Dan Londak is being here forever. He doesn't want to hurt our community. Greg Reyes is back there. Good to see you. And I haven't seen him for a long time. So, and I'm impressed with the others. I really am. So much good information. So I think.
Just turned it off. There you go.
Council member, we have built over 90 facilities worldwide, from small to some of the largest, up to 220 million gallons per day. We also operate currently 25 facilities worldwide again, and that's the expertise that we plan to bring to identify some solutions that can help the city.
And how's that working for you?
Extremely well.
Extremely well.
We are the leader on desalination, and we're very proud of it. We just want to find the right solution for the right community, and every community may need something different.
Okay, you know we have issues in the Inner Harbor because it's enclosed. So can you tell me, have you built any that are any like that? Or I know every one of them's different. They've got to be all different.
There you go, Council member.
Everything.
We have built over 90 facilities worldwide, from small to some of the largest, up to 220 million gallons per day. We also operate currently 25 facilities worldwide again, and that's the expertise that we plan to bring to identify some solutions that can help the city. And how's that working for you? Thank you very much. Thank you.
And we will start doing over the next few months is identifying what are those specific solutions that may need to be applied here to bring that safe and reliable alternative. I do not have the answer right now, but I do think that we have the expertise to be able to identify what that solution may be.
Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Have you heard of micro-infiltration? Do you know what that is, micro-infiltration?
Microfiltration, yes.
Because what this man was telling me is very smart, he knows about desal, was that in Perth, it's probably the closest one to our situation here, and that's what they use. And that it's operating really well. Seahorses are in there. So I know a lot of you are shaking your heads out there and said, no, it's not going to work. We don't know if it's going to work until we get more information. So I appreciate y'all trying to help us on that.
We will start doing over the next few months is identifying what are those specific solutions that may need to be applied here to bring that safe and reliable alternative. I do not have the answer right now, but I do think that we have the expertise to be able to identify what the solution may be. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. If you heard of macro-infiltration, do you know what that is? Micro-infiltration? Microfiltration, yes. Is it what this man was telling is very smart?
What we were doing is we were going to terminate the task order, but Friesen Nichols is still assisting us with the closeout with Kiewit. They're assisting us with the reimbursement request from the Water Development Board. And they were going to help us with, if we defease the loans, they were going to help us through that process as well. So we were keeping that open until we closed everything with the project out. And they're still assisting now until we close out the Kiewit contract. And
so you're still paying them?
We are still paying them, that's correct. But
only, Brett, but only, they're not getting a check, just to do nothing. So
that's right.
They're closing out the process with Kiewit, and when we need them, that's when we get charged for services. Right. So things like reviewing invoices, submitting paperwork
to terminate the task order, but Friesen Nichols is still assisting us with the closeout with Kiewit. They're assisting us with the reimbursement request from the Water Development Board, and they were going to help us with if we devised the loan. They were going to help us through that process as well. So we were keeping that open until we closed everything with the project out, and they're still assisting now until we close out the Kiewit contract. So you're still paying them?
Government is so freaking slow.
Yeah.
You would think all you had to do is just say, here's your check, get on your way. But I guess we don't do that, do we? That's just government. I'm not being too I am being critical from being in the private sector. Okay, when the ships come in, the inner harbor, the waves are created, right? And the brine's dispersed. And I don't know if it's because of the wind, the way it blows it. Is there a certain direction it goes? Does it go toward Port A? Is there a certain direction it goes?
So you're just talking about the general movement of the water?
Of the water.
So you have movement.
You would think all you had to do is just say, here's your check, get on your way. But I guess we don't do that, do we? That's just government. I'm not being I am being critical from being in the public-private sector. Okay, when the ships come in a harbor, the waves are created, right?
Nueces Bay. So your movement is twofold. You've got natural tidal movement and whatnot towards the Corpus Christi Bay, and then you also have the movement from the ship channel into Nueces Bay via the power station.
Okay, so we don't know the impact until we know the impact, right?
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
Okay, the brine. I saw something on TV, and you hear it all over. Can we not sell the brine? They said it's very valuable. And what would we have to do that? I'm just asking the questions. What would we have to do that? Is that a possibility?
There are companies that have technology that would allow you to separate the minerals from the byproduct or even straight out of the ship channel. It's different from what the inner harbor plant
So your movement is twofold. You've got natural tidal movement and whatnot toward the Corpus Christi Bay. And then you also have movement from the ship channel into Nueces Bay via the power station. Okay, so we don't know the impact until we know the impact, right? Right. We don't know. Okay, the brine. I saw something on TV, and you hear it all over. Can we not sell the brine? They said it's very valuable. And what would we have to do that? I'm just asking the question.
It would just be in addition to what we're already doing.
I know.
We'd have to go out and look for people that want to purchase the material. We'd have to find a way to transport it. I mean, we would need more property. I mean, there's just a lot of things to consider when you're talking about that. Is it doable? Maybe. We haven't put in the time to actually.
Okay, but because that is a possibility, and there are companies that actually do it, and so I think we do need to look at it down the road. I'm going to ask you something. Because the brine is the big issue for the city, for the people that don't want it. That's the big issue. What is the biggest possibility that there's some way that we can, is my time up? What are y'all doing? Oh.
Yeah, it's on.
Want your honest answer, and I know you'll give it to me.
Two-way
Possibility to build a pipeline down the road where we can put the brine out into the Gulf of America.
Well, at a strategic level, that's definitely possible, considering some of the other areas that are being considered right now, the closest one being Harbor Island.
Yeah.
And to be able to oversize that offshore discharge to eventually take a discharge from this project. And that's definitely doable in the future at some time.
It would be a cost, and hopefully...
It'd be a cost, yes, ma'am.
To do that, maybe the state would come in and help with some of that.
That's possible, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, that's enough for now. Thank you.
Councilwoman Paxson.
Thank you. So, for me, I'm very curious. You know, the entire time that I campaigned, and in this past year being elected, I was very forthright that I promised my district that it had to make sense. I was only going to support what was the best deal for providing water to this city. And for
Right
me,
now,
that
the
has always
closest
come
one
down
being
to
Harbor
price,
Island, and to be able to
protecting
oversize
our
that
waters.
offshore discharge
You know,
to eventually
we
take a
sit here and
discharge
we make
from this
decisions for
project,
the
and
city
that's
as a
definitely
whole.
doable in the future at some time.
But
It
on
would
an
be a
individual
cost, and
scale,
hopefully
I
it would be a
represent
cost,
District
yes, we
4.
do,
Water's
that maybe
a
the state
very
would come in and
big
help with some of
part
that. That's
of
possibly
our
a Smith,
lives,
okay?
of
All
our,
right, that's enough for now, thank
small
you.
businesses,
Councilwoman Paxson,
of
thank you so for me for
our,
that.
Tourism. A lot of the reason people move to these areas is because of the condition of the water. You know, one of the projects that we're working on involving the Whitecap development, Lake Padre, we have discovered that unless you're looking at a completely comprehensive map of the water systems, you really don't know, because they are so connected. Each piece that we change impacts them all. And I think we should be very transparent and very accepting of that reality. So it's a huge priority to my district and me. Outside of that, we have a responsibility broader than that. We provide to 7 counties. We're pivotal
And a lot
to
of
the
the reason
entire
people
state.
move to these areas
It
is because of the
matters
condition
what
of the
decisions
water.
we
One of the
make.
projects that we're working on
And so
involving the Whitecap
another
development, Lake Padre,
huge
we have
priority to
discovered that
me,
unless you're
and
looking
why
at
those
completely
make
comprehensive
so
map
much
of the water
sense is
systems,
because the
you really
community
don't know
has
until
to
they are
make
so connected. Each piece that we
has to
change
come
impacts
first.
them all. And I think
and I think that this council wants to arrive at the best deal, even if we have different interpretations of what that looks like. But for me, it has to be what I perceive as the best deal. When we arrived, you know, we were facing continued time racing towards these different drought restriction levels and potentially curtailment. And all of the discussion was mainly centered around the Inner Harbor project. And for someone who was transparent about where I stood on this project, the more I was exposed to it, the more I felt like it did not check the box for price. It did not check the box for protecting the water
Council
systems.
wants to arrive at
And
the
it
best
wasn't the
deal,
best deal. It
even
wasn't
if we
gonna
have
keep us
different
from curtailment.
interpretations
It
of
was
what that looks
not
like. But for
going
me,
to
it
provide
has
the
to be what I
volume that we
perceive as the
need,
best
and it
deal.
was
When
gonna
we
push us out of our
arrived, we were
price
facing
range.
continued
That's
time
why
racing
I did
toward
not
these
support
different
this
drought
project
restriction
from the
levels and
beginning.
potentially
So
curtailment.
sitting
And
here
all of the
now,
discussion was mainly
I
centered
think,
around
Peter,
the
you
Inner
said it
Harbor
the best
project.
last night when you gave an update to a nearby city, when you said you wouldn't wish this on any city management, any council, any team to have to make this decision. So for me sitting here, and I think my colleagues feel the same, I look back into the audience, and honestly, everyone is wearing blue, ironically, but for different reasons, except that we all make up this city. These are hard decisions. So sitting here, it's important that we protect our waters and all those things that I discussed, but it's important to tell all of our industry partners how valuable they are to our economy, and we do want to secure water so they can continue operations. I think this would be a much
An
different
update to a nearby city
discussion.
when
It'd
you
be
said you
very
wouldn't
easy for
wish
me to
this on
say
any
yes or
city
no to
management,
if
any
there was no
council,
other
any
water
team to have to make this
options on the
decision.
horizon.
So for me sitting
But
here,
with
and I
all
think
the
my colleagues
presentations
feel the
up to
same. I look back
today,
into the audience, and honestly,
we have
everyone is
shown
wearing blue
that we've
ironically, but
avoided
for
that
different reasons,
curtailment
except that
with
we
those
all make up
measures, and
this
they're
city.
not
These
perfect.
are.
None of these options are perfect. We knew that going into them, but we jump over those hurdles as we go. So what I need sitting here is I'm just very curious about what makes this proposal that much difference. One, how much does this study cost? That's a question for me. The one that we said that CCDP is not charging us up front. How much is this portion of the process going to cost? Because ultimately that will be added on if this goes forward, and I know we're not at that point today, but we're saying yes to the study today. So what is that cost?
Frank.
Let's see if Dan, or Efrain, yeah.
There.
You're good, just.
Council member, the way that we look at it, because of the
We
stage
knew that
of
going
the
into
project,
them, but we
it's
jump over
almost
those
an
hurdles
investment.
as we go.
We
So what I
truly
need
are
sitting
not
here is
looking at
I'm just
recovering
very
the costs
curious
that we're
about
gonna
what makes
spend
this
over the next
proposal
few
that
weeks.
much difference. One, how much does this study cost? That's a question for me. The one that we said that CCDP is not charging us up front. How much is this portion of the process going to cost? Because ultimately that will be added on if this goes forward, and I know we're not at that point.
We value the market and the industry. We think that this is important enough that it merits us making that investment. Fortunately, we can afford to make that investment, so we're willing to do it. And we don't expect anything in exchange. We're very aware that in the next vote, this can not to move forward. And we understand that. We're doing it at risk. I know that may sound a little bit difficult to understand, but we actually take these evaluations on a case by case, and every now and then we do make a decision like this to try to help a city and try to help a project move forward.
I truly, sincerely appreciate that you guys recognize that we're in a very difficult position. We need to provide water, so I appreciate that. But if we were to say yes at the next vote,
we think that this is important enough that it merits us making that investment. Fortunately, we can afford to make that investment, so we're willing to do it, and we don't expect anything to change. We're very aware that in the next vote, this cannot move forward, and we understand that we're doing it at risk. I know that we may sound a little bit difficult to understand, but we actually take these evaluations on a case by case, and every now and then
let's say there's tiers 1, 2, and 3. Realistically, what ballpark are we even looking at?
For the ultimate facility?
Yeah.
I would like to get the time to be able to do the evaluation. I am personally very sensitive to not creating false expectations one way or another. There is a lot of information we'll have to review and evaluate. We will come up with our best solution and our best options. And if we find that there is no practical way to get there, we'll tell you. We believe in long-term relationships and long-term partnerships. That is the way that we operate. So our intent is to evaluate the project where it stands today over the next couple of months, so we can tell you what is our best recommendation based on our experience on what we can develop and what we think the cost would be for it.
Realistically, what ballpark are we even looking at? For the ultimate facility, I would like to get the time to be able to do the evaluation. I am personally very sensitive to not creating false expectations while we are another. There's a lot of information we'll have to review and evaluate. We will come up with our best solution and our best options. And if we find that there is no practical way to get there.
And I know I'm out of time, Mayor, but
You got another turn though.
I was going to ask if you would entertain the idea of allowing for 3 options to speak, because it's good discussion up here. Sure, but that's going to change. I'm asking the option if we can have a 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roy. Oh, I'm sorry.
First of all, I'd like to thank the group for, I attended 2 of your meetings. I went and met with you twice along with some other council members. I think some of these questions that some of my fellow council members are asking,
if you would entertain the idea of allowing for 3 options
we
to
had
speak,
that
because it's
opportunity
good
and
discussion up here, sure,
able to
but
talk
that's
to you
going to
about
change
some
it
of
to
these
the
issues.
option
And
that
one
you
of
have
the
a
things
3rd.
that
Thank you,
impressed
Councilman
me
Roy.
probably the most is that when we ask a lot of the questions about cost, one of the things that I know we did not experience with the last, I guess vendor is the appropriate word, contractor, is that there were a lot of options that we talked about, and I want to make sure I get the name of the company, but the builders, MasTec. One of the things that impressed me so much is the fact that you actually were talking about ways to save money. And each and every one of you talked and openly about, okay, this is what we can do to help cut the cost. We didn't have that conversation before. Every time I would ask that question, and I went all the way to Kansas City and asked the same question, I basically didn't get a really comfortable answer. And so I want to applaud you for that, because the other thing that, and Peter, I thank you also for structuring this the way that you did, because one of the things that you talked about openly is that if we have a ceiling, and I'm just going to hypothetically say there's a dollar amount on, there is going to be a dollar amount on that ceiling, but then you're going to come back. You said one of the things we can look at is options, that maybe we start and we're doing 20 MGD, right? But this is what it would take to get to 25 or 30, and this would be the extra cost. So maybe our comfort level would be at the end of the day being at 20. I like the idea that you have options. You're not trying to back us into a corner at the end of the day. Go, by the way, this is going to be $1.2 billion. No, wait a minute, maybe 1.5, and then tell one of our other colleagues 1.8. So that I appreciate, and I think the other thing is having the local presence. At least I learned more in those two meetings, like I said, in meetings 6 times at least with the other vendor. And I know there's tough. I do agree, though, Peter, that
but this is what it would take to get to 25 or 30, and this would be the extra cost. So maybe our comfort level would be at the end of the day being at 20. I like the idea that you have options. You're not trying to back us.
Some of the studies that required or the studies that they did. We've had other studies done, multiple studies that have done in terms of looking at safety. But one of the things that keeps coming up is this far-field study. And I think we need to go ahead and do it. Peter, I think right now we need to go ahead and invest the money. If it's $50,000, $100,000, let's do it. Why wait? We've got people out there that are saying, oh, well, I don't trust this until we do that. And we need to do whatever we can to continue to get our community to trust us. And I don't think that in terms of the money, let's go forward with it. I don't think we should wait. So I wanted to bring that up. The other thing is, I like the fact that
we've had other studies done, multiple studies that are done in terms of looking at safety. But one of the things that keeps coming up is this far-field study, and I think we need to go ahead and do it. Peter, I think right now we need to go ahead and invest the money. If it's $50,000, $100,000, let's do it. Why wait? We've got people out there that are saying, oh, well, I don't trust this until we do that. And we need to do whatever we can to continue to get our community to trust us.
Similar environment is like our environment, and why is it so challenging in terms of our water? What's so challenging about our water? Because one of the things that you agreed on is the fact that our water is challenging compared to some other plants and locations that you built. You didn't sugarcoat that at all, and I appreciate that. I'm excited about the fact that I feel comfortable that the process that we're going through on this second look is definitely a better process. And I just, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the staff. I want to thank the vendors that are taking the time and effort and putting themselves at risk. I say risk, to go forward and continue with this project.
Is like our environment, and why is it so challenging in terms of our water? What's so challenging about our water? Because one of the things that you agreed on is the fact that our water is challenging compared to some other plants and locations that you built. You didn't sugarcoat that at all, and I appreciate that. I'm excited about the fact that I feel comfortable that the process that we're going through.
Council members that joined us and met with you, and I just look forward to continuing with this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Barrera.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Brett and staff. And, you know, Peter, I have to commend you because we're a pretty dysfunctional group. And to be able to put us on a position where we have an option that the council can move forward on, or at least the majority can, that's what I call governmental artistry. It's hard to bring people together. You know, I used to say I was a bomb thrower, and then somebody told me, hey, man, you're just losing on every vote.
us and met with you, and I just look forward to continuing with this process. Thank you, Councilman Barra, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Brett and staff. You know, Peter, I have to commend you because we're a pretty dysfunctional group, and we have to be able to put us on a position where we have an option at the council.
Texas, and I think the Texas Water Development Board, I think their challenge is that they feel that we've been indecisive. So I think you've brought certainty to us so that way we can provide for them, and I think we need to do it today, provide for them that we have certainty that we're open-minded to looking forward to a project that's going to provide water certainty and the wherewithal to invest in our long-term water infrastructure. I think that was a challenge that the rating companies had. That was very high on their list, is the reluctance to invest in our long-term water infrastructure and to provide certainty, because there's so many individuals that rely on us. There's so much of the state of Texas,
and I think the Texas Water Development Board, I think their challenge is that they feel that we've been decisive. So I think you've been certainty to us so that way we can provide for them, and I think we need to do it today. Provide for them that we have certainty that we're open-minded looking for it. That's going to provide water certainty and the wherewithal to invest in our long-term water infrastructure. I think that was a challenge for me.
What is it in the entire country? And I think we have a responsibility to be able to make those tough decisions. We make a lot of decisions based on pressure, based on political pressure. You could base it based on industry pressure, based on pressure from environmental pressure, pressure from the Texas Campaign for the Environment, who puts a lot of money into these campaigns because they feel other than people like me, which is okay. What is it? That's the political process. So a couple of things that I start with that. You know, that being said, is Camille, I saw him in the back. Can you bring him out? Camille?
Oh, Camille.
Camille, our water finance guy?
10-4. Units count.
What is it in the entire country? And I think we have a responsibility to be able to make those tough decisions. We may also
putting the horse in front of the cart is to ensure for the Texas Water Development Board that we're serious.
What is it? That's a good process. So a couple of things that I start with that, that being said.
Let's assume that they don't buy in, but we still have a responsibility to provide the certainty. Will we finance with revenue bonds?
Yes, sir, that would be the only other option.
Okay, and then typically, where does those interest rates run?
Well, depending on what the federal government does, but let's assume anywhere between 5 to 6%.
And then the Texas Water Development Board rates?
That they don't buy anyone, but we still have a responsibility to provide the certainty. We read about will we finance with revenue bonds?
Yes, those, even though the percentage seems small, it is a substantial amount of money.
So I'm of the opinion that we move forward because of the fact that for whatever we do, and like I said, I'm more so, my whole thing, as I said, is to provide certainty. And we have to provide certainty to the rating companies, certainty to the Texas Water Development Board, certainty to the state of Texas. So I know that's it. Now, here we've had other projects that aren't permitted, that we haven't determined rate models, and we put aside $2.7 million. We perhaps may have obligated us out to $169 million simply because we have the pressure of providing the water. And I think the thing that I've said on the radio over and over again is by
1:30. I'm at forensic kidney care.
I think the thing is that I've said over on the radio again is that if we provide certainty, then the industry will try and figure it out.
Even though the percent they're seeing small, it's a substantial amount of money. So I am over the opinion that we move forward because of the fact that whatever we do in our state, I'm also, my good thing is I said, it's the one, certainly. How well, wait a while, we're certainly the rating companies, certainties, the Texas Water Development Board, certainties of the state of Texas. So I know that's it. Now you know. Here we've had other projects that aren't permitted that we have in the term and rate models, and we put aside two.
Doing it now, I think we need to give credibility to the procurement process, so that way we can go through that. I think we need to grant credibility because there's going to be information that our partners are going to come up with, that may be prudent to that information. So I think just waiting 6 weeks, 12 weeks once we engage is probably a good thing.
Currently, we have an 18
And one last thing I just want to leave with, because I'm out of time, is I'm so glad that we got involved, community partners, because to me, the glue is a company like Ardura or LNV, you know, what is it, Line-Decker, Nizer, and Vieira? Yeah. And then Raytech, what is it, who've been community partners for the longest time. They're the glue, they understand the community, they understand the procurement process. Thank you very much, Peter, good job.
Yeah, let me just add that Raytech has been doing work for the city for 15 years.
To give credibility to the procurement process so that way we can go through that. I think we need to give credibility because there's going to be information that our partners are going to come up with, that may be prudent to that information. So I think just waiting 6 weeks, 12 weeks, once we engage is probably a good thing. And one last thing I just want to leave with, because I'm out of time, is I'm so glad that we got involved, community partners. Because to me, the Bloom is a company like I do.
Certainty, I'm for certain that Roland is wrong.
That way?
Excuse me, Councilman Barrera is wrong. How's that? Okay. You know, I want to say that I think Ardura with Dan Line-Decker and Greg Reyes from Raytech are outstanding individual people, and they run good companies. I can't say enough about, you know, I can go on and on about how favorable I have an opinion of those individuals. And if they selected to work with Acciona and Mastec, that says something about your companies as well. So I want to, you know, state that out front, because it's no reflection on what you're capable of or what you're doing or what your companies have done.
We're certain that rollout is wrong at Lake Houston Councilman, but it is wrong, House, that okay, you know, I want to say that I think Ardura with Dan Line-Decker and Greg Reyes from Raytech are outstanding individual people, and they run good companies. I can't say enough about, you know, I can go on and on about.
Operating budget that we have for this year, on page 343, it says that we have outstanding principal in our utility system of $1.48 billion with interest due for a total of just under $2.4 billion in our utility revenue bond system. That also includes the SWIFT loans that we've also taken out. So I want to just put that in perspective. We are going forward with two other plans for wastewater reuse, which we are voting on right after this, which I intend to vote for. And we've had some estimates somewhere between 100 and 130 million, which will more than likely be revenue bonds in the wastewater system. And then we also are looking at another 300+ million for our projects with Evangeline for, you know, respectively for both of those, for a total of about 40 million gallons a day for, let's say, just under 500 million. We have some other projects on along the way.
Operating budget that we have for this year. So that also includes the SWIFT loans.
To you, Peter, about switching this over from a progressive design build to a P3 format, right? So that debt service, the risk is put onto the company, and I don't know, I'm assuming you guys have done P3s before, right? Would you be open to that? Could, if you wouldn't mind actually saying the actual word.
Conceptually, we would. We have the experience. The only caveat that I do want to mention is that would extend significantly the timeline of when the project can start and become available.
Okay, so we're talking about 4 years of, you know, so this does not help us in the short term. We are working on projects like the groundwater and the wastewater reuse or reclamation that'll help us in the short term. You know, ultimately, we're looking to replace 70 million gallons.
Switching this over from a progressive design build to a P3 format, right? So that takes the risk. The risk is put onto the company. And I don't know, I'm assuming you guys have done P3s before, right? Would you be open to that? Transport. One mind actually saying the actual word. Conceptually, we have, and we have the experience. The only caveat that I do want to mention is that we extend significantly the timeline of when the project can start and become.
In order to continue to grow. So what my concern is with this site, and I think it was expressed by Councilwoman Paxton, is it is limited based on its location. right? It's inside a relatively closed bay, and it's different from Perth. I've been to Perth. I've actually been there. It was a former naval officer, crossed the line, went to Perth. It is completely different. There's much more open. They have some reefs there, but it's open to the open ocean there. So it's not anything like what we have here in Corpus Christi. And I see you nodding your head, but that's correct. Okay, so I don't, we are unique, and every location is unique. And so that goes back to the far field model. As I recall, Kiewit was looking to do that far field model
continue to grow
in order to make sure the design
what my concern is with this site, and I think it was expressed by Councilwoman Paxton, is it is not. It is limited based on its location. Right. It's inside a relatively closed bay, and it's different from Perth. I've been to Perth. Thank you very much for being there. It was a variable officer that crossed it on. Went to Perth. It is completely different. It's much more open. They have some research, but it's open to the open ocean.
What we're talking about doing is independent of that. We're actually just talking about evaluating the entire bay system, nueces bay, Corpus Christi bay, and ship channel. So they are two different things because they have two different purposes.
Okay, I understand that, but you would want to have that information before moving forward, right? I'm assuming you'd like to have whether or not there's any kind of accumulation issues that you would have before then.
What we're proposing to do for the modeling is not something that the project team would need in order for them to continue with the project. They have the permits, they have the land, the power, everything else. They don't need to do an additional modeling of all the bay system in order for them to proceed. So this is more for the city and council.
Independent of that, we're actually just talking about evaluating the entire basis of the specific purpose of being a ship channel. So they are two different things because they have two different purposes. Okay, I understand that. But you would want to have that information before moving forward. I'm assuming you'd like to have whether or not there's any kind of accumulation issues that you would have before that. What we're proposing to do is the modeling is not something.
The PFAS has more to do with not the water you're consuming or creating. It's the discharge. Because you can remove it with the RO, but then do you put it back in the bay?
That's correct. It's part of the discharge.
If it's regulated, then are we going to be able to put it back in the bay?
There are mechanical and design solutions that we can employ to deal with whatever regulations are put in.
Okay, I want to say Kiewit's intent was to put it back in the bay.
Well, again, it's not, we're taking it out of the bay and we're putting it back. There's the regulations referring to actually the produced water that goes into the system.
Well, now it is, but if there's future regulations, you may not be able to put it into the bay.
That's right, and this team would have to,
FOS has more than you, not the water you're consuming or creating. It's the discharge because you can remove it with the RO, but then do you put it back in the bay? That's correct. It's a part of the discharge. If it's regulated, then are we going to be able to put it back in the bay? There are mechanical and design solutions that we can employ to deal with whatever regulations are put in. Okay, I want to say Kiewit's intent was to put it back in the bay.
Put it in legislation. I know he's been championing it to us as the PUA, Public Utility Agency. Can you tell us about that?
It's not on there. It's not on there.
No, mine's
The Public Utility Agency allows you to bring other government agencies together and also private entities under one umbrella to do a regional style project. Some of the discussions, and I put a name out there, but the Coastal Bend Water Agency, for example, that could include the city of Corpus Christi, which would bring their funds currently that have been approved by the Water Development Board. Slide that into that agency, and then the city at that time, and I'm not trying to speak for,
I know he's been championing it to us as a PUA Public Utility Agency. Can you tell us about that? It's not on there. It's not on there. The Public Utility Agency allows you to bring other government agencies together and also private entities under one umbrella to do a regional style project. Some of the discussions, and I put a name out there.
By our senator. And when you do that, it allows a more regional approach and a regional look, and also allows for funding ability, and also it allows the city to appoint the board members that would run that Coastal Bend Water Agency, and as well as the other partners that would be a part of that agency. So there is a strategic look ahead if the vote is in the affirmative today, to be looking at that potential in the near future. Yes, ma'am.
So that's really a good possibility because it doesn't go in our books, correct?
Yeah, I'd have to double check that, but
I think that's correct. I don't think it goes in our books, right?
The debt could be, the debt would be on the PUA.
And when it allows a more regional approach and a regional look, and also allows for funding ability, and also it allows the city to appoint the board members that would run that coastal bin water agency, and as well as the other partners that would be a part of that agency. So there's a strategic look ahead of the vote.
Whoever constructs it, it would just be a great fit. You know what, you construct it and you're going to build it so that when the operation and maintenance is not going to be that high.
Yeah, Councilwoman, we absolutely would be interested. Like in anything, we would review the procurement process, make sure that all of the details make sense, but we would love to provide the solution not just for the construction, but for the long-term 30-year operation.
Okay.
Love to be your partner. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have got a lot of industry here today, just a whole lot. And, you know, we've got to work together. There's been a lot of things that have been said that shouldn't have been said. I think some think I don't support industry. I've always supported industry, probably one of the biggest supporters up here. We were in the oil field, so of course I do. But I also represent the ratepayers, and that is one of my biggest concerns. I don't want their rates to be so high they can't afford it. And I don't think you do
It would
either.
just be a great fit. You know what you constructed, and you're going to build it so that when the operation maintenance is not going to be that high. Yeah, Councilwoman, we absolutely would be interested. Like in anything, we would review the procurement process, make sure that all of the details make sense, but we would love to provide the solution, not just for the construction, but for the long-term, 30-year operation. We'll pay a lot to be your partner. Thank you, and we have got a lot of industry here today, just a whole lot. And you know, we've got to work
Utility
together.
assistance program, right, where we would help seniors and other economically disadvantaged ratepayers. So many cities and water entities have that. We just started one, but it needs seed money, so it's a utility assistance fund.
And that's a drop in the bucket. That's a drop in the bucket for industry, and I hope you'll consider that anyway. Mr. Sinoni, I want to thank you again for bringing it forward because it gives us a different perspective. That's what a good CEO does, and that's what I contribute to you. I think that, like a private company, you don't just settle for a price. You try and get the best price possible, and we're representing our citizens, so that's what we should be doing. Thank you.
Councilwoman Paxson.
Thank you. Kind of pick back
What we would
where
help
I ran out
seniors
of
and
time
other
previously.
economically disadvantaged
To me, again, just
ratepayers.
trying
So many
to
cities and water entities have that. We just started one, but it needs
How
seed
does
money.
this
So it's a
project
utility
now,
assistance
under this,
fund, and that's a drop in the
proposal,
bucket.
make
That's a
more
drop
sense
in the
than it
bucket
did
for
at the
industry.
beginning of
And
the
I
year.
hope you'll consider that anyway. Mr. Sinoni,
so
I want to
a couple
thank
of
you
my
again for
questions were
bringing it
answered
forward because
previously.
it gives us a different perspective. That's what a good
It
CEO
was
does,
said,
and
I
that's what
forget
I
who said
contribute
it.
to
It may
you.
have
I
been
think that it
Brett,
is.
It may have been Peter, that one of the things we're considering is a reduction in volume of the plant.
The production of the plant will probably be main contributor of the options. You're going to have different 20 MGD, 15 MGD. When we're talking about price points, really your total value is going to be driven by your production.
So anytime you go to design something, you have to have some type of parameters to go off of.
Right.
So with respect to those options, what are the current parameters we're evaluating for those price options?
So it is a topic that includes multiple considerations. That is the largest factor.
That one of the things we're considering is a reduction in volume of the plant. So production of the plant will probably be making sure that of the intensity. You're going to have different one deal at the end of the dotting. When we're talking about price points, really, your total value is going to be driven by your production. So anytime you go to design something, you have to have some type of product.
For example, enhancing the treatment that we have to condition the water before it goes into the membrane. There's a significant amount of effort that can be done, reducing costs there, if you have enough expertise to know what levers you may need to pull. Understanding under what conditions the plant should be operating and balancing that when the water is needed. For example, if you have heavy rain events, your water quality gets degraded. You get more turbidity in the water, so you have to work harder to clean it. In those situations, you have enough water available, so you may want to lower the production of the plant. and allowing for that flexibility can bring you some savings. So there are a number of levers, and there are a significant number that we will be looking over the next 2 months to identify which one of those that we have seen are the ones that make more sense here, and those are the ones that we will bring.
For example, enhancing the treatment that we have to condition the water before it goes into the membrane. There's a significant amount of effort that can be done, reducing costs there. If you have enough expertise to know what levers you may need to pull, understanding under what conditions the plant should be operating, and balancing that when the water is needed. For example, if you have heavy rains, your water quality gets integrated, you get more to read it in the water, so you have to work harder to clean it. In the situations you have enough
because
water.
we're trying to target price.
Right.
Yeah, Councilor, can I just add to that a little bit? So if the initial design was built for all these parameters, right? If there was a major 100-year rain event, the plant would still run. One of the options we're looking at is shrinking the parameters when the plant would run at full capacity, because you only use these deltas like once every 5 years. So it's a way to bring the price down, and you don't really impact delivery of water. If you're only doing something once every 5 years, maybe it's not a good use of hundreds of millions of dollars. So we would rely on other sources when the plant's not at 100% capacity. This is just one idea, one example.
That was a good segue into my next question. I know that, again, we're talking about doing a better study for modeling of impacts in the in that water environment. One of the things
can I just add to that a little bit? So if the initial design was built for all these parameters, right? If there was a major 100-year rain event, the plant would still run. One of the options we're looking at is shrinking the parameters when a plant would run at full capacity, because you only use these deltas like once every 5 years. So it's a way to bring the price down, and you don't really impact delivery of water. If you're only doing something once every 5 years, maybe it's not a good use of hundreds of millions of dollars.
That we'll be making, and we'll be coming as part of our recommendation with some options on what we think the ideal scenario would be. The more days of the year the facility can run, typically the more expensive the facility becomes, because you have to have additional redundancy to be able to operate continuously for that long. The more ability that you have to turn that number down and use that opportunity to do maintenance, it allows you to actually reduce the cost. So that is one of the components that we are going to be evaluating to provide some suggestions on what we think would be the right balance.
But that would be an operating expense. That would not be the capital expense for building.
It does have an implication on capital expense.
A substantial implication?
It is a material
We'll be
implication.
coming as part of our recommendation with some options on what we think the
proposal,
ideal
we're
scenario would
looking
be.
at,
The more effective, the
selecting
more
a firm
expensive
to
the facility
actually operate
becomes,
the plant.
because you have to have additional
What?
redundancy to be able to operate
We were talking
continuously
about
for that
60
long. The more
million
ability that you
a
have to
year
turn that number
under the
down and
previous
use that
design.
opportunity to do
What would we be
maintenance, it
looking
allows
at
you
in
to actually
operations
reduce the cost.
approximately? And I know there's variables, but I'm trying to make this deal make sense.
Right now, I would not be able to give you a number on that, but the operator, whoever it may be, whether it's us or anybody else, they would have to evaluate the final set of conditions and use that on the calculation of their operation and maintenance expense.
Okay, and under this schedule of votes, what would be your
I'm walking
target
around.
or
I'm able to use the phone. I'm able to locate his mother.
educated guess at when this would be
Variables, but I'm trying to make this deal make sense. Right now, then the number of the operator,
If everything, of course, went forward.
Okay.
We've been moving pretty fast. We have not looked at the timeline yet. We've been focused on price, honestly, in ways that ideas of how the price
Unit
can
3020, can I get the
lowered, for lack of a
individual?
better word, the current published price by the previous vendor. So today, we're not able to come back, but when we get all the information, review all the information, and are preparing the price, we call it the factored price proposal or preliminary price proposal, at that time, we could come back with a schedule for you, Councilwoman.
Are you thinking 2027, 2028?
So Councilwoman, I'll jump in. So previously, we had 42 months. So it was 12 months of design, and then we had about 30 months of
We've been
construction,
focused on
commissioning,
price,
et cetera.
honestly,
They
in
haven't
ways that
committed to
ideas
that,
of
but
how the
just to
price
give
can be
you
lowered for
kind
lack
of
of
a
a better
timeline, the
word. The
original,
current published price
Kiewit
by the
contract
previous
started in
vendor. So
December
today,
of 24,
we're not able to come back,
and we
but when we get
revised
all the
in
information,
December of
review all the
28.
information, and are
So at
preparing the
best case
price, we
scenario,
call
if
it the
very
factor
little
price.
about the project changes, we're looking at 29.
So about 3.5 years from the start.
So 2029.
Now, they may be able to better that schedule, but
But that's a fair guess.
that's a fair guess.
I mean, we're talking about a big plant.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fair guess. That'd be a fair guess. And like I said, Councilwoman, is we don't have our arms wrapped around all the information yet. And once we do that, then we can come back and give you our best estimate on time.
So I want to echo Councilmember Hernandez's sentiments. I think you guys are great professionals. I truly appreciate the effort in this. I really, really do. But for me, if I'm going to put support behind something, I've got to make it make sense. And from where I'm sitting, while I appreciate that you guys are bringing
Again
under,
at 29, so about
Mr.
3.5 years from the start.
guidance,
So 2029.
options.
Now they may be able to better that schedule, but that's a
I'm
fair
someone that
guess.
thinks
That's a
very
fair
large
guess. I
scale
mean,
and very
we're talking about a bid
realistically.
plant. That's a fair guess. That would be a fair guess.
You're
And
calling-
like I
let's
said,
call what
the
it is what it
councilwoman
is.
is
To
we
me,
don't
it's
have
still
our
the
arms
same
wrapped around
project,
all the
and
information
everything
yet.
that
And
we've
once
kind
we
of
do
talked
that,
about here
then we can come
is
back
saying
and
it's
give
the
you our
same
best
project with
estimate on
potentially
time.
a
So
few
like,
tweaks to it. But more than likely, the mean of this trajectory is about the same project, more or less. Only now, and it was even said last night in a presentation, because it's a little further down the line, there's potential for more cost and more time. And what our priority was when we got here was two things. Is one, get us out of curtailment, get immediate sources online, and two, find projects that were going to furnish us for the future. I want the city to grow. I want it to continue to grow. And to Mr. Hernandez's comment, even if we shoot for that maximum capacity of 30, it doesn't grow our trajectory as a city. Does that make sense?
but more than likely,
So
the mean of this
that's what I'm
trajectory
searching
is
for
about the
here
same
are the
project,
pieces that
more
set this
or
new
less.
proposal
Only now,
apart
and it was
from
even
all
said
of those
last night in a
elements that we
presentation,
had
because it's a little
previously.
further down the line,
And I
and there's
did wanna
potential
ask
for
one more
more
question
cost
while I
and
have
more
a couple
time.
more
And what our
seconds here.
priority was when we got
You
here was two
mentioned,
things.
Peter,
One,
that-
get us out of
that the teams
curtailment
are gonna
and give
go in front
immediate
of the Water
resources
Development
online.
Board
And two, find
before their
projects
vote in
that we're going to
December.
find
That's
for the
correct. We
future.
plan on going up to Austin the first week in December to
I
talk
know.
to Brian McMath and his team.
I know several weeks back, we had talked about bringing the gentleman, Mr. Rubenstein,
Right.
on as a contractor, and I think
Report
it
31, you're
was
trying to
at
let
one of the
Enterprise know?
county events on the 5th of November, if I'm not mistaken, that you and I touched base on that again.
go to Milwaukee
What is
this summer.
his status and involvement right now on that?
Yeah, so Carlos Rubenstein, who has a real eclectic water background, is under contract with us
charging
today.
stations are working.
He's helping us with the bed and banks permit for the Nueces
they're working now.
River Wells
It
project.
is just an update
We're
for
in the
them.
process of developing another contract with him to help us with the PUA that Councilwoman Vaughn talked about, the Public Utility Authority, because that could be a venue that we could transition this project into.
Week in December,
But
I
we
know,
had spoken about
several
his
weeks back,
assistance with
we had talked about bringing the
navigating,
gentleman, Mr. Rubenstein, as a
our
contractor,
interests
and
at
I
the
think
Water
it was one of the
Development Board
county
level
events
for
on the
claiming
5th of
these
November.
costs.
If
Okay,
I'm not
that's correct.
mistaken
He's
at you,
helping us with
and I
that
touched
as well.
base on that
That's
again.
correct.
What
What's
is
the
his status
status
and
of his
involvement right
has he
now?
been
Yes,
given
so
all the
Carlos
documentation?
Rubenstein, who
Has
has a
he
real
made
eclectic
contact with
water
them? Is he
background,
going
is
with
under
you?
contract with us
Status.
today.
So let me have Ryan
Last
Skrabacek
meeting,
get that
you're on
answer
the
for us. If he's
Fargo
not here, we'll
area.
get it for you before we're done this item
The
today.
RP
But
refused to answer any
he
more
would
questions
probably
and
be with
disconnected the
us when we
line.
go to
There's no other
Austin that first
information.
week in December.
Just a male
Ryan
caller,
has to
do
tell
not
us,
have a
has
name
he
for
been
him.
reaching, has he
There's
been
a phone number,
contacting the
area
Texas Water
code
Development Board? I just don't know that answer.
903-752-113.
Okay, here we go. Ryan might. Okay. Yes, sir.
That's
Aaron must have been by now.
903-752-113.
Ryan Sparks, Government Relations. So, Mr. Rubenstein, we've been working with him. He has received all of the documentation that we have received from the Texas Water Development Board, which he
And
didn't.
our letters to them?
I think for the most part, maybe with the exception of the
2400, you
very
can
first
get
one, because
code.
that wasn't one generated by staff. But I think he's doubtlessly got a copy by now. So he's got all of the back and forth. You know, he and I talked about the concept of where we are with the Water Development Board and the fact that we've issued 4 letters now, or 4 letters have been issued and 4 letters have been received.
Let me have
And the
Ryan's for you
concept of
before
trying
we're
to
done
turn
with this.
what has
Rubenstein, we've been working
pretty
with him.
consistently been a no into a yes may not be the best
Call
strategy
8 and
for this particular particular tranche of funding. And so he's engaged. He gave feedback to the most recent letter that was sent in terms of the terminology that was used in the letter sent to Brian McMath. And so he's ready and willing to help and be involved as a consultant on the team. So he's not a lobbyist. So he wouldn't be lobbying the board.
No, it would be a
Right.
consultant, which is what we talked about, as him being a consultant and assisting us to facilitate that relationship. So something that was said was that it's no longer recommended to ask for the repurposing of funds. Was that his recommendation?
If they're kind of in line with what Brian McMath ultimately suggested, that if there was going
Yes
to
may
be
not
a
be that
need
radical, in particular
specifically about the
funding, and so he's
$525 million,
he gave feedback to the most recent letter that was sent in terms of the terminology that was used in the letter sent to
gotcha.
Brian, and so he's ready and willing to help
He's
and be
not
involved as a
involved at all with
consultant.
us going
So
up
he's
there
not
this
a
week to
not
meet
a
with them,
lobbyist.
although
So
he's
it
our
wouldn't
paid
be lobby.
consultant.
No, it would
He
be a
will be
consulting
going
with
with
is
us,
what
but
we
it'll
talked.
be the week of December 1. So we're still putting plans together. We still have to schedule time on McMath's calendar. And he'll be going with us.
But you said you're going tomorrow.
No. Yeah, the first week in December is the planned trip to Texas Water Development Board in Austin.
I thought you were meeting with them this week.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Number
I'm not sure who I
73,
said about
073, class number
Yeah, Council will be the
6947,
first week in December.
Okay, thank you.
So he'll go with us.
I'll wait for another time. You said we'd
Yeah.
see if we get another time around.
Did you wait to, well, let me move on to Councilman Cantu.
Real quick, Mayor, Rebecca, how can we get it 3 times? Do we have to do a motion to talk 3 times? How does that work?
You can, it's to extend debate, if you'd like to make a
So
motion to do that.
it's still
The
putting
mayor
plans
could also
together.
grant
We
it
still
if she
have to
wants
schedule
to.
time on the
Council, we
McMath's calendar, and he'll be going with us.
This
But
is
you
a
said you're
very
going
important
tomorrow.
subject,
Oh, no,
Mayor.
no, no.
We
Yeah,
need to
the
do
first
that.
no,
I'm
the
not
first
saying
week
that.
in December is the planned trip
Does
to
the
Texas
council-
Water
does
Development
does
Board in
everybody want
Austin.
another
I thought
chance
you
to
were
speak?
meeting with them this week. No, I don't think so. Okay, so he'll go with us.
Well, we're gonna do this in order. So we're gonna do it now, and then it's done, and then we go to public comment, and then we vote. So,
Whichever, I don't care, public comment.
yeah. So if y'all want another turn. No, I'm saying, right, it would be now. They want to speak now. Well, if you don't,
Let's
you don't
do
have to
a
take, if you don't,
motion
you don't
for
have to
after.
take if you don't, you don't have to take your turn anyway.
Yes,
So,
if you
all right,
go
if y'all want to speak another time, that's
Yeah,
fine.
after public comment. we did.
No, we're gonna do the 3 times now.
Great.
So go
Program
ahead.
year 14, 14 for CDS
What are we talking
activation,
about? What second?
13,
I thought you wanted to speak now, like y'all are the only two who wants to want a third term, which is fine. So you can have a third term, the third time.
Well, we're going to do this in
And
order.
you
So
want
we're going
one.
to do
Yes,
it
so
now.
it's fine. We can
And then
speak.
it's done, and then we go to public
Yeah, you have
comment,
2 more
and
then.
then we vote. So yeah. So if y'all want
No,
another
I'm saying-
turn. No,
right.
I'm saying it would be now. She they want to speak now. Well, if you don't have to take your
Okay,
turn anyway.
fine.
I don't want to speak another
also
time.
enrolled with Charlie
So you have
270.
spoken twice.
It's going to be for disturbance at 4030,
Councilman Cantu,
3430 Omaha. Contact Daniel.
Rebecca, you're keeping track. All right.
JRP's advising of the ex-wife being
You're
back at the
welcome.
location,
Who's that?
causing a disturbance.
Is that it, Eric?
No, ma'am, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. This is my second time, correct? Okay. Where are we with the contracts with the refineries?
Are we talking about the reuse? We talking about?
No, we're not. We're talking about the Nick knows. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, sir. So we've engaged our rate modeler, New Gen, right, to help us put together a path forward with the refineries. And just to
We're back
clarify,
at your
Councilmember,
Cuban track. All right,
I
a
know
piece
you're
of, I
talking
think, of the
about
white being
our
track of
water
locations. Is that in
contracts,
Eric?
delivered
No,
water
ma'am, I have a lot of
contracts
stuff to
with
talk
our
about.
large
This is my
volume
second
users.
time,
So
correct?
what
Okay,
we've
where are
done
we
is
with the
we've engaged
contracts
our rate
with the
modeler.
refineries?
They've got the expertise. They're putting together a path forward for us so we can continue that work with those entities.
What's your ETA?
I do want to say that it's a complicated process, right? Like any contract negotiation, it's a complicated process.
I understand. What's the ETA, more or less?
I would hesitate to answer that. The contract negotiations all have a life of their own. We are extremely focused on the delivery, the offsetting of our demand with effluent water, right? That is taking a high priority right now so we can lower that demand. And if you think about our water dashboard, we want to lower that demand curve so that we can push back our level 1 water emergency.
Expertise.
That's
They're putting together
priority.
a path forward for us so we can continue that work with those entities. What's your EPA? I do want to say that it's a complicated process, right? Like any contract negotiation, it's a complicated process. I don't understand. What's the ETA more or less? I would hesitate to answer that. You know, the contract negotiations all have a life of their own. We are extremely focused on
whatever other projects.
It is a priority for CCW. Absolutely. It's definitely a priority.
Yeah, Councilman, I would say we need to have everything in order before we begin the next budget. So that's like late next spring, early summer. The contract should be in place by then.
Okay. Can you guys do a P3 and pay for it and build it and operate it? Are y'all real confident that those waters are good?
At this stage, I would say conceptually it is possible, it is what we do, but we would have to evaluate all the specific details. And
will you come back with us when you come up with the price and say, hey, we could do this also?
Item 315, clear.
Do a P3 and build it and do everything else? Like build it, operate it, pay for it, all that stuff.
So conceptually, we can do all of those things. It usually depends on
It's a priority for CCW. Absolutely. It's definitely a priority. Yeah, Councilman. I would say we need to have everything in order by before we begin the next budget. So that's like early next spring, early summer. The contract should be in place by then. Okay, can you guys do a P3 and pay for it and build it and operate it? A24-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1. At this stage, I would say conceptually, it is possible. Let me support what we will have.
Will the far-field study be available to the public to, after it's done?
The inside of an apartment, there currently is something that go inside the apartment. It's unknown if anyone's
Report,
inside.
yeah, it'll be public.
Be public, okay.
Yeah, it'd be and that would be available during the process, Councilman. So when there's major milestones or just anybody wants data.
Can we do more than 30 MGDs in that location? I don't remember. We can?
We can. It depends on the technology and how much recovery you're getting, but the permits, in theory, allow more. Yes.
How much more or less?
Again, it depends on the recovery, maybe around 36 to 40. We have limitations at the navigation pump station. It can only receive, I think, max 36 MGD. So if we were to take more than that, we would have to have somewhere else to take that water.
For the far-field study, be available to the public, at the general. It's going to be in front of the public. I'm going to make that. It's going to be in front of the public. It's going to be in front of the public. Yeah, it'll be public. We'll be public. Yeah, it would be available during the process. So it's going to be more of a way to make your mouth clean. So it's going to be very much dateable. Can we do more than 30 MGDs in that location? I don't remember. We can. It depends on the technology and how much recovery you're getting. But the purpose of it, can carry a lot more. Yes, how much more? More than 30 MGDs.
Immediately, we would put up a new request for proposal for an operator that would be determined probably within a year. So we would know by the end of next year who the selected operator is for the facility, so that we can stay on track. We know time is of the essence, and if we throw out this whole bid process, then you're talking another whole year before we even come to this type of meeting. And I don't recommend that, given our water situation. So there's ways to...
So if somebody calls you tomorrow and says, hey, we want to build it, we want to pay for it, and we want to operate it, is that going to be on the table?
Yeah, right. Nobody's called us yet, though.
Okay, but is that an option?
It sure is. My phone's on all the time. Yeah.
I'm going to put it on Facebook. And then,
I was from a proposal for an operator that would be determined. If it didn't have to do with the time and the writing on the end of next year, who the selected operator is, the facility, so that we can stay on track. We know time is the essence, and if we throw out this whole bid process, then you're talking another whole year before we even go on to this type of meeting. And I don't recommend that given our water situation. So this weighs. So I'm going to come in there for you tomorrow. So I think we're going to.
We're recommending that, Councilman, based on your input as well. So it would be lay people all the way to professionals from the Heart Institute, like Lamont Taylor,
yes, sir,
who represents Hillcrest in many ways. I told them already, you're going to be on this panel that will be with the Farfield Study Group all the way through, and there'll be periodic check-ins. They'll be having access to raw data. They'll have access to reports. So the answer is yes.
Got it.
4322 Gustores, 4322 Gustores, the Windwash Apartments.
Yes,
You
sir.
have an
Do you have,
1805
you being living in
1805
Corpus all
is
your
working off
life
of Route
and
7,
doing
Route
business
7,
in the city of
17.
Corpus Christi for, he said decades, I don't know how old you are, but,
Location.
Peter is aging me.
yeah. Do you have any concerns of building this plant on the Inner Harbor?
has been moved to a working
You know,
fire.
the water, I'm going to put my engineer hat on.
Oh, well,
It is a difficult water to treat.
We're trying to
Where
figure
we're
out if
at,
anybody's
I
inside.
haven't wavered
A lot
from
of
that.
smoke
I said
coming
that
out.
from the get-go.
Well,
But the technology's there, and the reason, I think it was said earlier, the reason I'm here with the team with Acciona and Mastec is because they've seen similar waters like this difficult water. And when we went through the proposal process 2 years ago now, you know, there was a deep dive into all these issues, Councilman. And so we're not coming in cold because we did do this process, you know, to get ready for the proposal. But we do need to
Announcement
step
based
back
on your
and
input
review all
as
the
well.
information
So it would be
that has been
lay people
previously,
all the way through
done.
professionals, the
And to
partners
take a look at
who
it.
represent Hillcrest in
And I
many
think,
ways. I told
you know,
them
what
already
is
you're
the
going to
difference
be on this
between,
panel. That will be the
today
finals
and,
time.
2 years ago, and I think
They'll be
Peter
able
did
to
a
go
fine job on
through the
this.
way
To
through,
me, it's
and
four
they'll
things.
be able to pick very early the
price
hens.
will
3
be,
who have to
you know,
wait
one.
until the next
I think
round.
the
They'll have to
expectation
leave
is
for the
that we're not
5
gonna come
for
in
D2G plus
with the previous
4,
project
D2G plus
discussed.
4, D2G plus
That's
6,
one.
D2G plus 6, D2G plus
These
6T. That's
environmental
always
this
technical.
environmental review that have been requested. 3 is now on the table that it'll be operated privately, yeah, you know, by an outside consultant. I think that helps a lot. And if I can add, Peter, that it's imperative that they get on board so they can be involved in the design process at the same time. So that's imperative. And then 4 is partners. Partners that under Senator Hino, that ability under Senator Hinojosa's plan to be able to bring in partners to assist the city with this project. So if you asking what's changed, to me, in my opinion, those are the 4 things that have changed.
That have been requested. 3
So we're
is
here
now
today.
on the
And
table that it'll be
let us
operated
take a
privately
look
by
at
an
it.
outside
And
consultant. I think
you
that
know,
helps a lot.
something
And if I can add a PDF that it's
come back and
imperative
tell
that they
you,
get on board so they can be involved in the
it's not right,
design
we can't
process
get
at
it
the
done.
same time. So that's imperative. And then
but
4
if
is
it is,
partners.
we'll-
Partners that
we'll do our
understand,
best
you know, that.
I'm going to go ahead and transfer. You called
what
it.
happens
Call your way.
if we built this plant and we turn it on
right now are 99%
and it doesn't work out?
We're on the hook to fix it till it does work out.
Over 119.
I mean, it's not like we get to go walk home. And I live here.
So we got warranty, right?
Yeah, there's warranty. And I live here, and I've lived here a long time, raised family here. And
I just don't want to build an expensive plant and have the time it's turned off. You know, I just.
So if I could just try to clarify that a bit, you know, there's talk about the MGs. So here's a better way, or that might help. You can have a plant that's 30 MGD that's running.
We get what you
24
call
hours
for
a
that
day,
handshake as it's on your
7
way.
days a
If we
week,
build this plan
365
and we
days a
turn
year.
it on, 99% of it is
one
locked
cost,
up. We're on
because
the
that
hook to
means you've
fix it
gotta
till it
have,
does work out. It's not like we get to go on pool, so I want to, right? Yeah, I've lived here a long time in
back
this
to the
family
CapEx,
here,
all
and I
that's
don't want to
To
build.
be able to run your car at 120 miles an hour all the time, that's one cost. Now, if you can sit there and say, look, during certain situations, we want to be able to lower that volume during certain days due to various conditions. And we might put out 28 MGD instead, or 25 MGD for this short period of time. And then when needed, we ramp back up to 30 MGD when it's needed. That's what we're really saying by we want to pull these levers. Do we have to be 30 MGD 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? And typically, the answer is no. We don't run the current plant like that either, you know. In the winter,
at 120 miles an hour all the time, that's one cost. Now, if you can sit there and say, look, during certain situations, we want to be able to lower that volume during certain days due to various conditions, and we might put out 28 MGD instead, or 25 MGD for the short period of time. And then when needed, we rent back up to 30 MGD when it's needed. And that's what we're really saying by we're going to pull these levers.
I've been campaigning the past 3 weeks. I've been knocking on doors. I'm getting a lot of threats of people running against me because of my decision on Inner Harbor. If I vote no, I vote yes, whatever the case is. So I've been knocking on doors, talking to people, and I knocked on 208 doors in the past 2 weeks, and 98 doors open for me. And the main concerns that I get is how much is my water bill going to cost? And these are from seniors over 65. You know, there's one lady, she lives in Molina, and she was outside and she had no electricity inside her home. She's waiting for her paycheck. You know, that's the real struggles that people
Past
are
3 weeks,
having
I've enough
today.
noise. I get a lot of threats of people writing of my decision at Harbor, and I vote no. I vote yes, so they're in
But
the
there's
cases.
people
I've
out
been
there
knocking on
struggling,
doors,
and those are
talking
the
to
people
people, and I knocked
that
on
fight.
208 doors in the past
Those are the
2
people
weeks,
that I
and
represent.
98 doors open up. And the main concern that I get is how much is my water bill going to cost, and
We
these
have
are
to
from
worry about
seniors
those
over
people that
6.
can't afford stuff. You know, it's either my water bill or my medications. You know, and it's sad. But that's how people are living
Victor Henry,
today.
1607.
And, you know, and we all know, and I'm okay with it. It's for the refineries. This water is for the refineries, and I'm okay with it because they provide jobs. We promised them water many, many years ago, and they came and built their plant here. You know,
It's either in my wardrobe or my medications, and it's sad, but that's how people are living together. Well, thank you, everyone. Take care of Adam, and
how much the water bills are going to cost for our residents, and I'm really concerned about that. That really people are struggling today, and we need to figure out something to help them. And if this does happen, so thank you.
Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for agreeing to letting us speak at least 3 times. I was trying to figure out, when would be the best time, if after the public comments. Anyway, talk about, having, what is it called, the horse before the cart. I've been asking, how much water do we actually need? And we are...
We're going to cost for our residents, and I'm really concerned about that. That's really people struggling today. We need to figure out something to help them, and if there was something that would happen. So, thank you. I'm sorry, Councilwoman. Thank you, Madam, and thank you for agreeing to let it in and speak at least 3 times. I was trying to figure out when would be the best time.
We're investing. We continue to invest, and I'm glad that we have Councilman Hernandez that's also looking at how much the cost is. And it's still, like my brother has said, you can hire, a carpenter, an engineer, whatever. If you have the money, they're going to design whatever you want. It's about the cost, and it's about timeliness. If you want it done quickly, and, thank God that we are now not at that point that we were, a couple of months ago. At least now we have, the Mary Roads pipeline pumping in at 72, which is at the max, and we have, our pump stations that have been improved on.
We continue to
And
invest,
so we
and I'm
really
glad that I have
are
Councilman,
quite
and we have
there
Councilman
on the
Hernandez that's also
pipeline.
looking at how much
But
the cost is. And it's
also
still,
just wanted
like my
to
brother has
make
said,
sure
you
that,
can hire, a carpenter,
when you
an
say,
engineer,
when
whatever. If you have the money,
Acción
they're going to
says,
decide on the
we-
kids' rights.
we
It's
don't
about
know.
the
I
cost,
think this is
and
the
it's
first time
about
that I've
timeliness.
heard
If you want it done
that
quickly,
this,
thank God that we are now.
Inner Harbor location can do 40, but I am reminded that the other company could do, I heard just now, 90, but you know how you can do 90 MGD if it's pumped out into the Gulf of Mexico, which we know that's the other cost. That's the reason why the companies that we have hired have not been able to do that because of the cost. Here we are looking at just the Inner Harbor and what it may possibly do to our bay, and that's at 1.2 billion. So again, it is about the cost, but I also wanted to mention something that our councilwoman did say about, industry helping out with the repairs.
That's the reason why the companies that are hired have not been
you
able to
know,
do that because
a way that they can help or subsidize. But you know what else would help? if industry would not challenge the water rates. Okay, because what happens is that may be like a few $1,000s where you're helping out the residents, but here we are talking millions. Here we are trying to get equality in our water rates, and once we finally started to do that, instead of industry working with us and saying, you know, you're right, for 20 years you didn't raise those rates, but here we go. Because they can do it, they are going to do it, and they are doing it. We're still waiting on that. We still have corporations still challenging their own city with
help
these
or
water
subsidize.
rates. So,
but you know what else would
it's
help
one
if
thing
industry
to
would
give,
not challenge the
a few
water
$100s
rates?
here and there to
Because what
residents,
happens is that
but
maybe
the
like
main
a few
thing is,
$1,000s where you're helping
don't,
out the residents.
you know,
But here we are
be a
talking
good-
millions.
be a good,
Here we are trying to get
neighbor,
equality in our
like you
water
say
rates.
you
And
are.
once we finally
And,
started to
you
do
know,
that,
do the
instead
right
of
thing
industry
and
working
not
with us and saying, you
challenge
know, you're
these
right for
water
20
rates
years. You.
that we have been able to establish. Thank goodness that we have a corporation or a company that has given us some good ways of, you know, making sure that all of us are equal in our water rates. So again, I just want to make sure that, and this is the first also that I've heard of Lamont, you know, being on this, but I know that I also have some individuals that would be great to serve on that commission, and I know that there's others, so, you know, it's disingenuous to just throw out a name like that, just to say, you know, but again, I guess we'll wait for after the comments, and I appreciate everybody being here, but I also appreciate industry doing their part and
have been able to establish, thank goodness, that we have a corporation or a company that's given us some good ways of, you know, making sure that all of us are equal in our water rates. So again, I just want to make sure that. And this is the first also that I've heard of Lamont, you know, being on this. But I know that I also have some individuals that would be great to serve on that commission. And I know that there's others.
Talking about this, and I said, absolutely. That was the right thing to do. I would say it again if asked again. So we haven't formed the committee of who would review it, but when asked Friday out there in Hillcrest, I said yes, and we'll continue to work with the council and other groups to formulate that. It's not formulated, but he did ask me the question last Friday at that $30 million groundbreaking.
But, you know, do I need to, you know, say them here, which was Melissa Zamora and Jason Hale? Of course, there may be others, but again, you know, I've mentioned those names before to you, but what, do they need to go in person and say this is?
No, we talked to Jason already as well. Yeah,
all right.
we've spoken with Jason.
The first thing I want you to do is fill a groundwater.
Right.
We have do I need to, you know?
All right, I'll be quick. I know you don't need to hear from me. I just wanted the world to know I'd support the vote today. I also support moving forward on the far field modeling. I would take the time needed to set it up right, because I suspect, listening to the conversation, there still needs to be flesh out who's going to be involved and what parameters, but I support the far field modeling. And last thought is that I'm going to continue to advocate the use of the San Patricio pilot payments to offset the increase in rate to the Corpus Christi ratepayer. I think that's an interesting and a good way to keep the rates lower by using the San Patricio pilot payments.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay.
I don't need to hear any. I just wanted to roll to know I'd support the vote today. I also support moving forward on the far field model. I would take the time needed to send it up right, because I suspect, listen to the conversation, there still needs to be flesh out who's going to be involved in what parameters, but I support the far field modeling. And the last thought is that I'm going to continue to advocate for use of the San Patricio and pilot payments to offset the inquiry.
For being here. You know, at the end of the day, I think that we need to, you know, make clear and make certain that what is well understood. Oh, you don't, are y'all getting in line already over there? Hold on. Okay. Well, Maybe I should sit until we get to there. So yeah, just give me a minute. I think it's important. It's important to make clear for everyone and for the public.
William Sam King.
Today, the vote is critical. Absolutely critical. It is critical. For me, it's a responsible thing to do. What we're voting on, no one can answer all the specifics. That's what we're voting on.
At the end of the day, I think that we need to, make clear and make certain that what is well understood. Are you all getting in line already over there? Hold on. Okay, well, I don't, we're getting close to each other. So that, just give me a minute. I think it's important to make clear for everyone and for the public. Hold on.
Matter of fact, y'all are committing, Acciona is committing a few times to say, we're willing to go ahead and vote on this project so that we can come up with something that this council, or at least a majority of this council, can agree upon. That could be operating the plant 195 days a year. That could be, here's an option for 20 MGD. Because price is a factor that we are saying is a factor. I want to see everything. I want to see 30, and then anything else that you play with from there. But that's what you can't answer, and I understand that. Today is a vote to move forward with a plan.
We can come up with something that this council, or at least a majority of this council, can agree upon. That could be operating the plant 195 days a year. That could be, here's an option for 20 MGD.
This would be first base. We've got second base, third base, and then sliding into home. And hopefully that it works out. So that said, I think it's also important to note that I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask y'all, please. Ms. Caballero,
y'all stop scrolling, because after 40 years, investigators are about to name the final suspect in one of Texas' most infamous cold cases, the KFC murders. Okay, here's the wild story. Back in 1983, 5 people were working and hanging out at a KFC in Kilgore, Texas. Mary Tyler, Opie Ann Hughes, Joey Johnson, David Maxwell, and Monty Laders. And out of nowhere, they are kidnapped. All 5 of them loaded into cars, driven miles away.
We've got second base, third base, and then sliding into home. And hopefully that it works out. So that said, I think it's also important to note that I might have lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask y'all, please, MS, if you don't, please, when you're speaking, we're listening. So please stop our ears talk about, come this way down.
When DNA technology finally caught up, that things snapped back into focus. Blood evidence that was found at KFC matched both cousins, Pinkerton, who was sentenced to life in prison in 2007, and Hartsfield, who got life in prison in 2008, but he died in 2022 after suffering a stroke. But here's the twist. During the trials, investigators found extra biological material on one of the victim's pants, and it didn't match either cousin. The DNA pointed to an unknown man, someone who's never been identified. And for years, Hartsfield said the real killer was still out there, and everybody just thought he was trying to dodge responsibility. Until now. Because investigators say science has finally revealed who that third person is. And on Friday, November 21st, the Rusk County District Attorney's Office says they are officially naming the third suspect, backed by DNA. 40 years, 5 lives, and 2 convictions, and now finally that last puzzle piece. Stay tuned.
We have a long-term need. The immediate need is what we're doing. Well, the Mary Rhodes pipeline. What was the other one? Teeter, Evangelion. And Reeves, Evangelion. The short term would be this desalination project, 3 to 4 years. Long term would be whatever long term would be 5. Down the line, a bigger desal project or what have you. But right now we're focused on the immediate, and your focus.
Take your meeting, but moving forward, hopefully we can all work together to achieve exactly what it is that we can come together, not for us, for the future of this community. So thank y'all. So we're going to go ahead. Now we're going to open public comment on item number 18. And remember, just state your name and city.
There was an off-duty doctor that they area to go. He got caught on the shoulder. The area is possibly related.
But moving forward, hopefully we can all work together to
If we
achieve
can get
exactly
everyone's
what it is
attention,
that
we're
we
gonna
can
go ahead
come
and
together,
start,
not for us, for the
and we need
future of
everyone
this
to please
community.
silence,
So thank y'all. So we're going to go ahead.
so we
Now we
can,
are going to
hear
open
our
public
speaker,
comment
our
on
first
item
speaker.
number 18. And remember, just state your name and city. There wasn't any that sort of works. The way we stand.
Council members, so today I wanted to start off talking about SWIFT loans. I think they put us in a tough position, and it's one of the main reasons we're here today. And I think it's tough for you guys because it makes canceling the Inner Harbor politically complicated. My argument is that the TCEQ didn't do a good assessment of the Inner Harbor. There are plenty of scientists that have written reports about it. I believe them. And because of that, basically, my argument is that they shouldn't have issued the permit based on that quality of assessment. And but because they did, the Water Development Board was allowed to give us those SWIFT loans. And, I feel like if we could prove that the TCEQ
Today,
failed to do
I want
their
to start
job,
off talking about SWIFT loans.
Yes,
I think
we
they
can
put us
make
in
a
a
strong
tough position,
argument that
and it's
money
one
can
of the
be
main
used for
reasons
different
we're here
projects,
today. I think it's tough for you guys
Because right now, I
because
think
it
it's
makes
unfair
complex
for
canceling the interoperability
to try to
complicated.
force
My
us-
argument is that like the
force this
TSEC
project
didn't
on
do a
us
good
when
assessment
it
of
really
the Inner
hasn't
Harbor
been
or Inner Harbor.
studied
There are
well
plenty
enough,
of
in my
scientists
opinion.
have written reports about it and believe them.
So, far-field modeling, I'm glad that y'all announced that you want to do that. I think we should do it as soon as possible. Thank you for making that commitment. I'm excited about it because it gives us a chance to get the clarity and the certainty we need to make a final decision on this project, which I think is something we haven't had yet. So I'm excited about it, but I'm concerned because there's a lot that could go wrong over the next few months. And the main thing I'm concerned about is the timeline. The final vote is in March. And I believe this modeling is important. A lot of people in this community believe this modeling is important. And if we're going to do it, it needs to make a meaningful difference on the decisions that we make. And if we're drafting
Far-field
contracts in
modeling.
January
I'm glad that
and
y'all
signing
announced that you
final
want to do that.
contracts in
I think we
March,
should do it as soon as possible.
where
Thank
does
you for
that
making that
leave
commitment.
any
I'm excited about it
input
because it gives us a chance to
from
get the
the
clarity on
modeling?
this
Modeling
final
should
decision
inform
on this
decision-making.
project. I think it's
And I
something
feel
we
like
haven't
this
had
timeline
yet. So I'm
kind of
excited about it. But I'm concerned
makes that
because there's a
impossible.
lot that could go wrong over the next few months.
Aside
And
from
the main
that, I
thing
feel like
I'm concerned
before
about is the
March
timeline.
vote,
The
it would
final
be
vote is
helpful
in.
to have some sort of protections and mitigations lined out, explaining what exactly we're going to do to ensure that this will be safe for our natural resources. And if y'all are concerned about cost, I would seriously consider impact fees so that new and expanding users could incur the costs for the new water supplies that they ask for. Thanks.
Thank you.
David Rousey, Corpus Christi, District 4. I'm a little unprepared for this, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity. I totally agree with Councilman Campos. I feel like we're playing a shell game here.
Sort of protections and mitigations.
Voted on this
Blind
6
out,
to 3.
explaining
Now
what
parks
exactly
are
we're
getting
going to
moved
do
around.
to
We're
ensure
bringing
that
it
this
all
will be
back
safe
up
for natural resources.
again,
And if you all are concerned
instead
about
of just
costs,
moving on
I
with
would
something that
seriously
would,
consider impact
just be a
fees so
better
that new
plan
and
in
expanding
general.
users could incur the
The
costs
Inner
for the new
Harbor,
water supplies that they
it's
ask
just a
for. Thank
notoriously
you.
bad area for this to happen. Dumping it in the bay is just terrible for a city that thrives and hustles on tourism. What's real important to know is that businesses and outdoorsmen like myself, we're not against desal, we're against dumping it in the bays. We cannot afford to have our whole water environment, ecotourism and everything destroyed. Someone else up here said today that, industry is not the only place that employs people here. Very true. I think you said that again, Ms. Campos. And, from restaurants to fishing guides like myself to hotels to boat dealerships, you name it, there's so many support centers supported by these same industries. haven't really
And
heard
you
it brought
know,
up
dumping
today,
it in the
but,
bay is
I
just
would
terrible
hope
for a
the
city
council
that
would
throws
consider
and hustles
a
on
better
tourism.
site
What's
for
real
this,
important
especially
to
the
know
Barney
that
Davis
businesses and
area.
outdoorsmen like myself,
It's a
we're not
cleaner
against diesel.
project. They've
We're
already
just
got
dumping it in the
permitting
bay.
for,
We
I think,
cannot afford to have our whole water
500 million
environment,
gallons a day, I
ecotourism,
believe,
and everything
something
destroyed.
like that.
Someone else up here said today that,
And
you
it's the
know,
closest place
industry
to
is
run a
not the
pipeline
only place.
offshore, which is absolutely imperative. That is where this disposal of this stuff has to go. It cannot sit in our bay systems. There have been numerous studies done. There was just a real well-known gentleman from the University of Florida, Arnoldo Levinson, that recently released a study in October regarding Corpus Christi Bay and said there's just no way this project can work, dumping the brine and chemicals back into this bay. I didn't take good notes here. One slide came up earlier, and it showed the intake, the plant, and the disposal back into the deal. And it looked
Absolutely
like they were only 200
imperative.
yards
That is
apart,
where
and
this
that was like a real
disposal,
red
this
flag
stuff
for
has
me.
to go. It cannot
So you're
sit in our base
dump it
systems.
back
There
in
have
the
been
bay,
numerous
pick it back
studies
up in the
done.
intake,
There was
recycle it,
just a
and just keep
real
this
well-known
nasty
gentleman
process
from the
going.
University of
I mean,
Florida,
do y'all
Arnold
wanna-
Dove
your
Levinson,
grandkids,
that recently
children,
released
is that
a
what y'all
study
want them
in
drinking?
October
I mean,
regarding Corpus Christi
I
Bay.
would-
It said there's just
I mean,
no way this project can
I mean,
work
it just-
dumping the
it's-
brine and
nothing
chemicals
about
back
it
into
just
this
adds
bay.
up
It said there's just no way this
to-
project can work dumping the brine and
some
chemicals
things
back
brought
into
up
this
about
bay.
industry, we're all for industry. I've got a lot of good friends in industry, and I'm not bashing anyone like that, but costs need to be shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bruce Landig, District 5. I support Inner Harbor desal. We moved here 4 years ago when I retired from my job and local politics. I was on city council for 10 years and president of council the last two in Mentor, Ohio, population 50,000. Mentor borders on Lake Erie. Not to rub it in, but the Great Lakes are 20% of the world's freshwater supply. But our council crisis has parallels
All
to
for
yours.
industry. I've got a lot of good friends in the industry, and I'm not bashing anyone like that. The costs need to be shared. Oh, thank you. I'm Bruce Landig, District 5. I support in her harbor seat diesel. We moved here 4 years ago when I started from my job in local politics. I was on city council for 10 years.
Controversial and costly. We permitted bow hunting from police-approved elevated stands in areas where the neighbors would sign off. We obtained state permits to cut the deer, to cull the deer using our police force. We paid to process the meat and donated it to food banks. The similarities. Firstly, we had an environmental and emotional opposition. Yard sign protests, emails, stop the killing, and speakers at every council meeting. But putting residents first over other creatures gave clarity to our decision. Simply, residents need you to provide a secure water supply. Secondly, deer vehicle accidents impacted resident safety. You have a water health and safety issue brewing. In the last 9 months, you have been using brackish water from the nueces River groundwater wells.
We permitted bow hunting for police-approved elevated standards in areas for the neighbors on the sidewalk. It contained state ordinance to cut the deer, to call the deer using our police force. We paid to process the meat and donated to food banks. The similarities. Firstly, we had an environmental and emotional opposition. Yard sign protests, email, stop the killing, and speakers that are recalculating, but putting residents first over other creatures gave clarity.
The solution was bold and radical. We did our homework. We took sound advice. We modeled our program after other municipalities who had used the same tools. Emulating success was an unqualified winner. As ground cover returned to our tree-covered areas, so did the ground nesting birds. The state natural resources expert reported that the health of the deer herd actually improved. Inner Harbor desalination will be costly, but also visionary and successful. You have the permits, and therefore environmental impacts are not a preeminent factor. The nation of Israel has transformed their land with this technology. Israel is 61 times the area of the Corpus Christi water service area. They have just fought a war over their very survival, yet now they are proceeding with plans to desalinate the Sea of the Galilee, their national water supply.
We did our homework. We took sound advice. We modeled our program after all the municipalities who had used the same tools. Emulating success was an unqualified winner as ground cover returns to our tree-covered areas. So did the ground nesting birds. The substantial resources expert reported that the health of the deer herd had actually improved. In a harbor desalination will be costly, but also visionary and successful. You have the permits, and therefore, environmental impacts are not a preeminent factor.
Transparency, communication, and trust. Each of which I think is a little, let's say, can be improved. Communication. At one of the early council meetings, well, for one of the first ones for the current acting CCW, Councilwoman Campos asked, simple question, how much water do we need? And we got a deer in, and I felt sorry for him. It was a deer in the headlight sort of look, and he wasn't ready for that. I think it came up maybe a next meeting, and then the city manager, after Ms. Campos mentioned it, kind of acknowledged maybe
arriving
we would
as
do
well,
that.
and we also
But I think
have
that's a fundamental
first
question. I
item as
don't
well.
understand why
handle.
city manager is
The first one for the
refusing to
current
have a
acting
public meeting in
CCW,
the form of
Councilman
some sort of thing
Compose
where there
asked,
was
simple
true
question, how much
communication,
water do we need? And we got a
not
deer in that I
one-way
felt sorry for, and it was a deer in the
What are
headlight sort of
values?
look.
What are the
It wasn't
priorities?
ready.
How you figuring out how much water we need? Who do you need it for? Is it for some bit mining thing? I don't know whatever. Who's it for? Who benefits? Who pays for it? And all of that. What are the values? Do we really want to turn this community into a Texas city? Well, maybe some people do. I don't. A lot of others don't. My other issue has to do with trust. Now, of the 34 years that I've lived here, 27 of them I worked for the city. And I am proud, the proudest time in my life was to work with City Manager Bill Hennings in the mid-90s. And my assignment was to develop the water rates, restructure the water rates to finance the Mary Rose Pipeline. And that's when we created the raw water pass-through, all of that. And my only point of that
Water we need? Who do you need it for? Is it for some bit mining thing? I don't know what. Whatever, who is it for? Who benefits? Who pays for it? And all of that. What about you? Do we really want to turn this community into a Texas city? But maybe some people do. I don't. My other issue has to do with trust. Now, the 34 years that I've lived here, 27 of my work for the city, and I am proud the proudest time in my life was to work
So a
with.
little more channeling Bill Hennings, open communication, and please answer Ms. Campos' question. How much water do we need, and who's driving that need, and what are our priorities? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mike Culbertson. I'm the CEO of your regional. I represent over 120 manufacturers, engineering, a lot of companies that care deeply
Channeling
about the
Bill
future
and his
of
own
this city.
communication,
this
and
region,
please
we're
answer
speaking
this
on the
compost
importance
question.
of,
I'm sorry
desal.
if it is not in the
Cities
mood.
need to
Who's
grow,
driving that
and
need,
I
and what are our
think that you know
priorities?
that when
Thank you
you
very
don't
much.
grow,
Thank you,
you
sir.
have
We're
felt
going.
the pains of that over the last two budget cycles, and you will feel it again. You have felt the pain of it. I know you two have, and Councilwoman Vaughn has. When you are trying to, and you two, because other councils have not done what they needed to do for roads and for services, and you've been paying extra for those. And so we need water to grow, and this city, this region needs water to grow, and I urge you, and I will support you any way we can, and we all care deeply. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trevor Lawrence Leblong, District 4. I am hard of hearing, so I may speak
That over the last two budget cycles, you will feel it again. You have felt the pain of it. I know you two haven't, Councilman Van has. When you are trying to, and you too, when you're because other councils have not done what they needed to do for roads and for services, and you've been paying extra for those. And so we need water to grow in this city. This region needs water to grow, and I urge you and I.
So if we can't get the first step right, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. If you want to take your first step in the wrong direction, you're not going to get where you want to go. Also, having lived on aircraft carriers, desal water, not the water you really want. They never could seem to get the
And so if we
JP5
can't
out
get the
of it.
first step right,
But
the journey
I'm
of
not
1,000
completely
miles
against
begins
desal,
with
'cause
one
it
step.
sustained
If you want
me
to
for
take your first step in the
30
wrong
years of
direction,
flow. But it has to be done correctly. It has to have intake. You want to intake it from the Gulf and then discharge it from the other end of the Gulf. And that's all I really have to say. But I mean, well, what I know about it, I only lived on an aircraft carrier during the first Gulf War. And where did I sign up? I signed up here. Why did I go to serve? Because of here. I'd like to keep this Corpus Christi and not Corpus Satanas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Matt Garcia, Corpus Christi, Texas, District 2. Honorable Mayor and Council
but it
members,
has to be done
I've been a
correctly.
Corpus
It has to
Christian
have
for
intake.
16
You want to
years.
intake it from the
I
Gulf
graduated
and then
from
discharge it from
TMUCC
the other end of the
and
Gulf.
have
And
started
that's all
my
I really
family
have
here.
to say. But I
Corpus
mean,
Christi
well,
is my
what I
home.
know about it, I
I'm
only
also
lived on the
the regional
aircraft
director
carrier
for the
during the
Texas
first
Oil and
Gulf
Gas
War. And where did I sign up?
where I
I
have the
signed up
privilege
here. Where did I
of
go to
working
serve?
directly
Because of
on
here.
behalf
I'd like
of
to
the
keep.
tens of thousands of women and men right here in the coastal bend and the Corpus Christi community who work to produce the products that our life depends on and whose jobs depend on water. On behalf of these community members, I want to sincerely thank you all for your tireless efforts and leadership throughout this process to secure our water future. While debate is robust, it's clear that you all share a vision that our community becomes water secure. Industry is committed to being your partner as you lead in this endeavor to find timely solutions. We've innovated and invested in programs that have dramatically reduced water use through operations, conservation, and recycling. We have paid water surcharge to build the Inner Harbor desal plant along with tens of millions to secure new water sources. And as a ratepayer,
Thousands of
the city of
in the
Corpus
coastal
Christi,
city, public
we
Christian
expect
community,
more for what we
members, they'll
The Inner
distance
Harbor
you, thank you all for your
desalination
title,
project is
personally,
currently
because
unrivaled in the due diligence done,
you
progress
all
made,
share
and clarity of timeline and
security to our people
deliverables.
and districts
It
and
offers a
being your partner.
definitive timeline or lifeline of critical water supplies while this body continues to lead in the development of a wide portfolio of solutions. Today, we respectfully ask that you take one more step toward water security and vote yes to advance the exploration of the Inner Harbor desal project, while we as a community continue pursuing additional sources. We are in this together to ensure a secure water future for Corpus Christi citizens. Thank you.
A group of 10 subjects arguing outside the complex.
Sir, when you come up and speak, no one makes comments, so let's just.
We were on payroll, we could speak, that's why I was.
Yeah.
Are you quite done?
Oh, I'm not on payroll.
Yes, sir.
I just have something I want to say, and so I was looking.
Sir, you're breaking decorum, so I'm gonna ask you to leave the council chamber.
Our lifeline of critical water supplies, while we're able to control the water to lead in the development of a wide portfolio of solutions. Today, we respectfully ask that you take one more step toward water security and vote yes to advance the exploration of the Inner Harbor desal project. While we as a community continue pursuing additional sources, we are in this together to ensure a secure water future for Corpus Christi citizens. Corpus Christi citizens, if you are still up at least a couple of days running.
District 3, my door didn't get knocked on. I'm here today, as I have been in the past, in favor of desal. We've talked before about groundwater, how it is not long-term. It is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Desal, right now, is a way out of this water crisis. I want to thank the city manager. I want to thank the council for bringing this back to having this robust discussion. To those of you that I have spoken to by phone or in elevators and different places, I appreciate you hearing what your constituents have to say. I encourage
My door didn't get knocked on. I'm here today, as I have been in the past in favor of diesel. We've talked before about groundwater, how it is not long-term. It is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Diesel right now is a way out of this water crisis. I want to thank the city manager. I want to thank the council for.
Fatima Rashidi, District 1. I don't want to have to talk about desal right now and from this point on. As I've said before, There are quadrillions of tiny microorganisms in our oceans fighting alongside us and sustaining life on Earth. So if you kill nature, I don't know what life we have. I've said this before the environment, even if there's a solution for the brine, even if it's inexpensive as well, still, you cannot deny the fact that the water from this perhaps safe, environmentally friendly, and inexpensive plant is going to industry.
I don't want to have to talk about diesel right now and from this point on. As I've said before, there are quadrillions of tiny magnet organisms in our oceans fighting alongside us and sustaining life on Earth. So if you kill nature, I don't know what life we have. I've said this before, and if the diesel plan is proved to be safe for the environment.
But we must decrease industry that steals water worldwide. We can no longer be addicted to our air conditioners, cars, gas guzzling, and other conveniences of modern life. Minimize water and electricity usage.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been taught all my life that use the energy that we need, not necessarily want. If more people did this, we wouldn't be in this crisis. Keep this in mind that I've said this before. We can't drink money, and we can't breathe money. So vote people over profit. Thank you, and God bless you and your families.
Thank you.
Must decrease industry that steals water worldwide. We can no longer be addicted to our air conditioners, gas cars, gas guzzling, other conveniences of modern life. Minimize water and electricity usage. I've been taught all my life that use the energy that we need, not necessarily want. If more people did this, we wouldn't be in this crisis. Keep this.
I too have concerns on the location and the volume that we're going to produce. That being said, over the last 4.5 years, I've watched the lakes and estuaries and rivers start to diminish and run into challenges. And I feel that this desal plant is the most technologically advanced system that we have currently to pursue. So getting in and gathering information to push that forward, I think is paramount. And I would ask that the county move forward with this to get the information needed to make the right decisions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Captain David Heasley, Corpus Christi, Texas, born and raised, District 3. I'm not here to read for a speech or speak for anybody else, but I have an extensive background in refinery. I worked for several refineries.
Location of the volume that we're going to produce. You know, that being said, over the last 4.5 years, I've watched the lake season worries, and I have been working hard for minutes and running to challenges. And this, I feel that this desal plant is the most technologically advanced system we have currently to pursue. So getting in and gathering information to push that forward, I think it's going to come out. And I would ask that the county move forward with this to get the information needed to make the right decisions in the future. Thank you, thanks.
On our desal units, we turn them off because these things are extremely expensive to fix, to clean out. When I look at where they're going to put that intake and effluent